Well, let's wait for people to get in. Hope all of you are doing well, by the way. Those of you who are already here, appreciate it. I don't do these kinds of things often, but I think the current situation uh, basically compels me to do something. So we're going to be covering the Democratic National Convention. I know it's already started. I have it pulled up in my other window, and I also understand that I'm a little bit late to the game, but the keynotes have not started yet, and I think that's where the most exciting thing is going to be tonight. But I'm going to just let you guys get in before we get started. Hope all of you are doing well, though. And let me know if you can hear me, if I'm coming through all right, if everything's coming through okay. So, are there any technical issues? Can you guys hear me? Those of you who are here, can you see me? Everything looks okay on my end, but just going to wait a little bit. 11 people already. My goodness. 11 people already. Wow. Wow, thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. It's very nice of you. I've never gotten 11 people in the first 2 minutes of a live stream, so it's actually quite nice. It's encouraging. Maybe I'll do more of this. Who knows? We'll see if that number stays the way it is. But let me know if you guys can hear me, if you guys can see me. Let me know if everything sounds okay, if it looks okay. Everything looks okay to me. Uh-huh. Let me try this. All right. Can you guys hear me? You guys hear me? No? Okay, good. Yeah, my audio was actually on a different microphone. So I just changed that. So yeah, we're going to cover this. All right, let me get my share function up. Okay. That's what I want to share. Yep. Okay.
Martin Luther King Boulevard.
You guys,
On that street was this incredible housing project called Brick Towers. We
What
never
he's saying.
mistaked wealth with worth. In those towers was a tenant president named Mr.
let me know if his
Virginia
audio
Jones.
is coming through. If you can
Her
hear the
son was
Democratic National
murdered in the
Convention.
1980s in the lobby of one of those buildings, but she was a woman of invincible joy. And I'll tell you this, I used to ask her, how are you so joyful? And she would always tell me, as church woman, she'd say, the joy I have, the world didn't give it to me. Come on now.
It's good.
She
All right.
taught me
Excellent.
that you've got to generate the joy. That hope is the active
So this is
conviction
Cory Booker,
that despair
the current U.S.
will never
Senator
have
from
the
New
last
Jersey.
word. And so tonight, there are so many challenges in our nation. There are so many problems that we're facing.
He's a bit of a grandstander, if
Heck,
you
if
ask me. I
America
don't
hasn't
really think
broken
he's
your
someone
heart,
that seriously
you don't
contributes to the
love her
political
enough.
conversation. He's been known for
But yet we
numerous
will
antics
be
over the past few
joyful
years
warriors. We are gonna
to boost
bring
his
back
profile. I'll give you an
to the
example.
journey of
So
our nation joy.
he was running for president a
And
few
if
years
there's
back,
any
I remember.
tradition in
He
America
tried to
that
make
has helped
himself
us
seem
to generate
relatable
that joy,
by
it has been
saying
the
that
artists
he has a girlfriend.
of America.
Because he's single.
It has
And,
been
bachelors,
those folks
people tend to make
bringing the
assumptions
rock
about
and roll
bachelors,
and the funk,
whether justified
bringing
or
the
unjustified.
gospel
He
and
was
the
the
hard
recipient of
rock.
some assumptions that may have
Well,
been incorrect
tonight
or
we are
whatever.
blessed
And
by one
he
of
just
those
threw
great
himself
American
before the feet of
artists that
those
helps us to
accusations
cleanse our
and just
spirits, to raise
tried
our hearts,
to
and to
seem
bring
relatable through
in
theatrics.
that
And like
joy.
Bushimmer just said,
Ladies and gentlemen,
yeah, we don't
I
need the
give you one of
theatrics.
the true
Right.
greats
Politics is not
in
about
America. Someone to
theatrics,
bring
although
the joy to
unfortunately
this
it's
incredible
become
arena.
that in the
Mary
past 125 plus
Morris.
years. Politics is about ensuring that the government is governed in a way that is conforming to first principles. Turn down, okay. Yeah, let me see, because these guys are loud. Oh, well, first of all, let me. Okay, I just muted the screen audio because they're singing music and I can't have that. But thank you for reminding me. I should turn them down. Thank you. But you guys can hear me right now, right? Even if you can't hear the screen audio. I need to turn myself up, maybe. Who knows? Yeah, it's another con. Yeah, I'm not gonna play the music. I can hear it. You guys can't hear it, but I can hear it. You guys shouldn't be able to hear it. Let me know if you can hear it. It's been so long since I've done one of these things, guys. So please bear with me. This is our first live stream post the viral video, our Kamala video that some of you may be here from, and if some of you are here from that video, then I thank you greatly for supporting me, supporting my dreams, supporting the efforts we got going on here. It means a lot to me. It means a hell of a lot to me. So thank you. Yeah, because that's Selena Gomez. What's Selena Gomez? I just realized who that was. Yeah, no, it's very interesting. They have quite a bit of. They have the all-star cast here. That's Selena Gomez. Yeah. I had to do a double take. I'm like, that's Selena Gomez. I used to actually be a huge fan of Selena Gomez. I'll let you guys into that little secret. I used to be a massive fan. I grew up with her music. I grew up seeing her on TV shows that were an essential part of my my childhood, like Wizards of Waverly Place, stuff like that. So it's a very unfortunate to see her. It's funny because celebrities. Let's get into this a little bit here, actually, because this is a phenomenon that I've noticed over the course of the DNC. If celebrities aligning themselves with worldviews and values that are in negation of the kind of life they have, what do I mean? Well, celebrities, whether you like them or hate them, it's not very easy to be in the industry that normally produce celebrities, whether it be a singer, whether you be a football star or some kind of sports athlete, whether you be an actor. These are grueling industries that a lot of people end up going homeless and losing everything they ever own just to have a chance at achieving the heights of them. And even in that case, a lot of people don't make it. So to be a celebrity in some senses, now this is becoming less true as time goes on, but in the traditional sense, that meant you have to have a lot of grit, a lot of self-determination. You have to have a vision for what you want in your life. And you have to have a support system around you that's going to buttress you in that ascent to greatness. Well, progressivism is the antithesis of that. Right? Progressivism very much says your life and your achievements are not your own. They are the achievements of the community, and they impact the community. And it also says, going along that you have some moral obligation to siphon part of yourself to invest within the community to help others, even if it harms you. Well, that's kind of antithetical to what it means to be, it's kind of opposite of the things that most celebrities endure. So just to become successful. So I find that very interesting. I find that dynamic very interesting. It's troubling, but it's also very interesting. Yeah, I agree. Let's see what he got to say.
The thrill is gone. I want you all to know tonight is about joy. American history, our common history, is a testimony to taking on the insurmountable and achieving the impossible. That should bring us joy. Our progress never, ever came easy. But in America, we do hard things. We built labor unions and small businesses.
Unfortunately, he is a sitting United States senator. Unfortunately, from New Jersey.
We nurtured the best athletes
and
artists
I shouldn't be.
Humanity has ever seen, and we kept the promise of Medicare and Social Security for our seniors. Look at who we are. Against bigotry and hate, we advanced equal rights for all Americans. Civil rights, workers' rights, LGBTQ rights, reproductive rights, the right to marry who you love, the right to be free. We did all of this in a way that didn't pit American against American.
Okay, I'm gonna silence him for a little bit. I want all of you to have your listening ears on. I want you to be very keen to when you hear the word freedom tonight, or you hear the word rights, make a note of it, because we're going to address how they're using these words. I mean, I literally just did a video like 5 minutes ago, put it up on the channel before I scrambled to eat and come on here. That addresses a lot of that, but we're going to talk about it here as well because it's important for all of us to understand what's going on. He's speaking in a language that most people who understand the idea of rights don't actually agree with, and they may not even know they don't agree with it, but he's speaking in a way that is underhanded and that implies a certain set of premises that are incorrect. So you have to really listen closely. And this joy thing too, we'll address that in a moment as well, but let's get back to him.
His is the politics of smear and fear, not inspiration and elevation. Donald Trump speaks more of American carnage than American compassion. But in America, you can't lead the people if you don't love the people. All the people.
I mean, he's using an abstraction here, right? It's impossible to love all of the people. And also, if someone, there's a difference between someone looking at the condition of a nation and saying, things are not good in XYZ area, but I believe in our promise, I believe in our ethos. There's a profound difference. Giving us this language of joy and inspiration and optimism, a false, people would call it a tragic kind of optimism, is not a recipe to making the country better. It's a recipe to lulling people into complacency and cause them actually to become mediocre and allowing the problems that plague the nation to get worse. So I don't get this gospel of carnage thing that he's talking about. I think you have to be realistic in appraising the condition of your country, especially if you're supposed to lead that very nation.
Odds. And that responded to every one of their challenges with that classic American creed. Yes, we can.
That's a progressive motto. It's anti-American in all honesty. I'll get into yes, we can as well. So we got a few things to talk about for this guy.
Strength. They want to tell us how bad we are. They want to say that they alone can save us. Well, we know that the power of the people is greater than the people in power. And we're not going to lose our faith. Look, I want everybody in here to let us all say it together. I believe in America. Let me hear you. I believe in America. I believe in America because our elders told us that no matter what the obstacle, like the gospel says, we shall overcome. I believe in America because our soldiers died on beaches and battlefields. They died at sea and in the air so that we could be free today and say together, I believe in America. I believe in America because our fighters fought at Stonewall. Our marchers marched in Selma. Delegates met at Seneca Falls. Every single one of them believed in America, even when America didn't believe in them. Say it with me now. I believe in America because King dared to dream the impossible dream, because Neil Armstrong went to impossible heights, and because when we elect Kamala Harris, there is not a boy or girl in America from any creed, color, or heritage that will ever think being president of the United States is impossible again. Say it with me. I believe in America, the land of hope and heroism. I believe in America, the land of courage and compassion. I believe in America, where we share common ground and common cause and one common destiny. And let me tell you, if you believe in America, if you love in America, then you will work for America. And when we work
this is really
together,
tragic, guys. This is
when
sad.
we stand together, when we organize together, when we vote together, I will tell you this, when we fight, we win.
Yes, and we're going to get into that in a moment, Blue Streamer. We're going to get into that in a moment. Yeah. But there is. Okay, I have music playing. We don't need that copyright. YouTube's already finding an excuse to get at me. All right, what's this woman coming? Who's this woman? Let's see what's going on.
Like countless Texans, I grew up going back and forth across the border from El Paso to Ciudad Juarez. My family would shop, have dinner, go to the doctor, pick up medicines. The border is my beloved home, the place where my children grew up. Forget what you hear on the news. I'm from there.
No, that's not how it works, lady.
Border, hear me when I say,
no.
You know nothing, Donald Trump.
No, that's okay.
He and his Republican imitators see the border and immigration as a political opportunity to
just because you have a connection to something does not mean you are the arbiter of truth for that thing.
Comprehensive immigration reform in nearly
this is the personal experience fallacy.
The three
the
times
left likes
they
to use
tried,
a lot.
Republicans blocked legislation that would have funded border security and created a more humane immigration system. They are not serious people. You know who
what
is
she's
serious?
Talking about
Kamala Harris.
is not accurate. She was talking about.
I met the vice president.
Okay, I'll explain it to you guys. She said the Republicans blocked immigration reform. That's not what happened. And by the way, look, I'm not a partisan. I will criticize the Republican Party all day long. That's not what happened. What the Republicans actually did was they blocked a measure that wouldn't have actually secured the border, that wouldn't have actually fixed the problem. It was a half measure proposed by the Biden administration to save face because Biden was trying to violate the Jeffersonian principles of 98. That's right. In his attempt to assert sovereignty over Texas' attempt to secure their own border. Many of you remember earlier this year, there was a tension, there was a fight over that. So she's saying, well, Republicans blocked immigration. No, what happened was a single bill that did not address the issue got blocked, yes, and rightfully so. Thank God, because if that had not happened, you would have progressives saying that the problem is already fixed. You would continue to have millions of people pouring in over the border as they are right now. You would have all kind of apologia being summoned up from the bowels of progressive intelligentsia that ignores what's actually happening in the country. Now, guys, look, I'm going to mute these people a lot and talk. I hope you don't mind, because I'm not going to just sit here and let them feed you lies. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And if there are some lessons that we can extract from this that'll help us think a little bit deeper about these things, then I'm gonna help you guys do that. So let's continue.
Some of the most conservative Republicans in Washington, D.C. supported the bill. Even the Border Patrol endorsed it.
And that bill included thousands of new border agents and personnel, new technology that can detect and stop fentanyl, more judges, and faster asylum processing. For the first time in decades, a chance at a real bipartisan solution.
But at the last minute, Trump directed his allies in the Senate to vote it down.
Because it was a half measure. It was a half measure.
Deal because he thought it would help him win an election.
No, because it was a half measure. That's why he said don't vote for it.
Border security. He only cares about himself.
Okay.
The real
this is just goofy. I mean,
I was the Attorney General of a border state. In that job, I walked underground tunnels between the United States and Mexico.
This is not an argument she wants to make either, by the way.
I went after transnational gangs, drug cartels, and human traffickers that came into our country illegally. I prosecuted them in case after case, and I won.
So we should understand that even after Kamala Harris's tenure as Attorney General of California, there were things that happened in that state relating to legal immigration that were just abysmal, that were enabled by the kind of policy that she supported, like sanctuary cities, for example, right? So Kate who was killed by a guy that was deported several times, who was protected by San Francisco State sanctuary city status, that was something that was supported by Kamala Harris and most of the California progressives at that time. So she can't say that she was strong on the border when something like that happened in her own state due to policies that she supported. It makes no sense. No, she wasn't. I don't care what tunnels you walked under. I don't care what claim you have to this issue. Kamala Harris was beyond weak on immigration, and her new policies won't be any better. I mean, literally, before we go to Chris Murphy, remember, during the first year of the administration, she was asked, why haven't you gone to the border? And she kept trying to beat on the bush. And she said, oh, well, I haven't gone to the border, but I haven't gone to Europe as well. What kind of answer is that? It's a non-answer is what we call it. And then she made a speech telling all the people that were coming up in migrant caravans in South America and going into South America from other parts of the world, like Africa and the Middle East, coming up through migrant caravans. She said to them, please don't come. Don't come. Go back home. Go back home. Is that going to really stop people that are incentivized to come here by virtue of a president who is unwilling to enforce the law? I don't think that's actually going to work. That soft-spoken voice was not going to work, and it didn't work because the same year she did that is the year we had over 1 million people cross the border. It's just an absolute mischaracterization. An absolute mischaracterization. So I really hope people actually look at Kamala's record and say, hey, look, no, your record on immigration is abysmal. You were given a job. You didn't do it well. The state that you were lording over as Attorney General has had several killings related to immigrants that shouldn't have been in the country, but were in the country due to sanctuary city laws, which are illegitimate in any way, shape, and form. And you just don't have a response for any of that. This is one of the reasons why Trump has to dig in on that aspect of the Kamala problem. If he focuses on her laugh or her cackle or her race, everything I just said is going to go missed, and he's not going to have an effective case against her. Against not just Kamala, by the way, because we're not fighting Kamala. Kamala is the bottom of the barrel in terms of the significance of what we're fighting. We're fighting a concept that has emissaries, and that concept is working through those emissaries. The people that you're seeing on the screen right now, they're just emissaries. You see what I'm saying? So let us continue.
Trump says that a safe nation can't be an immigrant nation. That's flat wrong, and Kamala Harris knows it. She knows this too. Engraved on the Statue of Liberty is a poem. The last line reads, I lift my lamp beside the golden door. For generations, that lamp has called people to start a brave new life in America. My ancestors, your ancestors, and the parents of the next president of the United States of America.
Okay, by the way, so this is Chris Murphy, the senator from Connecticut. Let me tell you a story about him. Let me be kind, because I don't want you to get me. He has taken advantage of every single tragedy that has had to do with a mass shooting that got media attention over the past decade or so, decade and a few years. The most egregious of which would be the Sandy Hook tragedy. He literally took advantage of that, tried to use it to deprive lawful citizens of their right to own arms. He has villainized gun owners. This is not a good person. In my opinion, this is not someone who should be an expositor of a convention that claims to represent freedom. This is a snake oil salesman. This is a politician whose commitment to his office has been violated. He has no fidelity to his office because he's not willing to uphold the Constitution. I mean, this is just somebody who I really don't think needs to be speaking in a convention that is supposedly about freedom. That's just my opinion.
With a secure border.
Yeah, guys, you should like and share the stream. Please do.
One candidate.
Please do. If you're in here, please leave us a like.
Who can deliver
please go in the chat. Talk to me. I'm not scary.
It's Kamala Harris.
I promise.
Thank you very much, Democrats.
I promise.
Please welcome Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar.
I don't know who this is.
On the other side of the border, the traffickers. They pack migrants into 18-wheelers like cattle, 50, 100 at a time. Then they seal the doors. That's when the 911 calls come. We hear them, desperate, terrified, gasping for air. Now, sometimes we get there in time. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, we can't. When Donald Trump comes down to Texas, stands next to officers in uniforms just like mine, he's not there to help us. Don't think that, not for a second. He is a self-serving man. I mean, look, just like when he killed the border bill, he just made our jobs harder. Now, Kamala, on the other hand, has been fighting border crime for years. She's gone down to Mexico and worked to stop the traffickers. And when the traffickers didn't stop, she put them in jail.
He should be ashamed of himself. As a law enforcement officer dealing with one of the most volatile situations in the country right now, one of the most volatile social issues and political issues in the country, he should have the temerity to at least be honest with the failures of this administration as it relates to that issue. But he's not. He's being a partisan. So if I was in his county, I would not vote for him again. I would say that much.
Because as we've always known in Texas, cuando luchamos, ganamos. When we fight, we win.
Tragic, man. It's tragic. It's tragic.
Please welcome.
Yeah, and by the way, this is what I call justification by proximity. When one person tries to speak for an entire group they supposedly belong to, it's a common rhetorical tactic that is deployed to bring forth some abstract idea of a consensus that somehow legitimizes the implementation of certain political agendas. But it really is empty and it's fallacious. And I think people should call it out more when they see it, because it has no business in a thinking person's political diet, in my opinion.
Faith, and hard work. These values, shared by Latino families across this country, are what made my family's American dream possible. And only Kamala Harris and Tim Walz will protect the American dream so that every family can earn a living, own a home, and reach their full potential.
She just proposed raising the corporate tax rate to not 28%.
That Donald Trump will never understand.
28%. The corporate tax rate is one of the most pernicious taxes. The most pernicious tax, I would say, is the inheritance tax, for a variety of reasons that I won't get into. But the corporate tax rate is also quite pernicious because those costs are passed directly onto the consumer. And it then encourages companies to move beyond our borders and therefore employs another nation's people as opposed to employing our people. It's a kind of managerialism whose wisdom is not at all evident to anyone that actually studies economics. So, yeah.
Recipients who graduated college have easier access to work visas. And we would have much more security at the border if Donald Trump hadn't tanked the bipartisan bill.
He's not the president, though. The president has the ability to set some things in motion via executive action to direct how ICE and other agencies handle the flow of migrants. Okay, so let me explain to you guys how this system works in a very broad sense. So what happens in America is that you have a legal right. It's not an actual right, but it's a legal right to come from a different country and claim asylum. Now, if you come to a different country and you claim asylum, under our current laws, the government has to entertain your request, give you papers, and give you a hearing date. Okay. Well, the president can actually, through executive action, fine-tune how that process works. And the president can regulate what happens with those that claim asylum while they're in the country. Joe Biden has quite literally just handed these people papers and allow them to go wherever they want, which is part of the reason why you're seeing an influx of migrants taking up resources in New York City and Chicago, so on and so forth. So if the Biden administration or the Kamala Biden administration, the Biden-Kamala administration was really serious about tackling this issue, They would fine-tune how migration happens in the country, but they done the exact opposite, and that led to a historic high of asylum seekers or whatever, migrants, be let in the country. So how can this individual sit up here and tell people that they're going to fix the immigration problem? Again, I'm going to keep doing this all night. We're going to keep interrupting these people because I'm not going to let this stuff remain unchecked. I'm sorry. It's whatever.
Recipient. I am a third-year medical student, and I am a DACA recipient.
Thanks to DACA, I've been able to open up my own business and represent clients as a lawyer.
So many of my dreams came a little bit closer.
It is disheartening to know that the court system may end DACA next year, and to also hear Donald Trump calling for mass deportations.
It is time that we recognize dreamers for who they are. We are contributors to this great nation.
I support Vice President Harris, who has continued to fight for DACA recipients.
She was the one who stood with us, who sat with us, who heard our stories.
We need a future President Harris to ensure that dreamers like me can continue to work and provide for ourselves, our communities, and our families.
Please welcome United States Marine Corps veteran, Carlos Eduardo Espina.
Buenas noches.
Hope you guys see what they're trying to do with this. It's rather evident to me. It's unfortunate too.
Carlos Eduardo Espina. And if 2 decades ago, when my parents immigrated to College Station, Texas, you told them that one day their son would reach 14 million followers on social media, graduate law school, and speak at the Democratic National Convention, they might not believe you.
Oh, okay. So he's one of these influencers they brought in. Okay, we'll discuss that. So let me make a note here to discuss that too, because there's actually an army of influencers over there. And we're going to talk more about the connection between influencers and the propaganda state and a few of them. I've been meditating on that for a little bit. So he's one of those. By the way, I don't follow the guy. He seems like a handsome guy, well-spoken. He seems very successful, but it's unfortunate his talents are being used for the wrong ends.
Contribute to society, pay taxes, because yes, immigrants pay taxes.
Paying taxes is not the height of civic duty or civic fealty. Let me write that down too.
Wants you to believe our poison.
Man, I'm gonna have a bunch of notes tonight.
This is dangerous, and it is outright anti-American. Because as Ronald Reagan, a Republican, once said, we lead the world because unique among nations, we draw our people, our strength from every country and every corner of the world. Reagan knew that welcoming immigrants is not a Democratic or a Republican value, it is an American value. To be pro-immigrant is to be pro-America.
No. Okay.
And that's why Kamala Harris understands.
So I never thought I would live to see the day where Ronald Reagan was invoked as a political justification for open borders and open immigration. Never. I mean, his record in office was very much that. It was very much that. I'll just be honest with you guys. Reagan was quite liberal on the issue of immigration. He was. And if someone wants to exploit the right on that position, the logical choice is to go for Reagan. It's unfortunate. It's quite unfortunate. And this is part of the reason why there's been conversations on the right on if we should run away from Reagan. Now, I have thoughts on that. I made a video about that. I don't think that's necessarily the answer in every case. But in some cases, it must be the answer because Reagan represented a kind of neoliberal mentality towards American identity that I think ultimately is destructive to our nation. So, anyway.
Who dreamed of working in the White House, it was a hard decision. But as an American, It was the right one.
Oh, is this another Trump person?
How Donald Trump undermined our intelligence community.
Yep.
Our military leaders.
Yep.
And ultimately, our democratic process.
Oh, God.
Now, he's doing it again.
No.
Lying.
Oh,
and laying the groundwork to undermine this election. It's his MO. To sow doubt and division. That's what Trump wants, because it's the only way he wins. And that's what our foreign adversaries want, because it's the only way they win. As a national security expert, y como Latina, y hija.
What does your Spanish have to do with national security?
Que realizó el sueño americano. Being inside Trump's White House was terrifying. But what keeps me up at night is what'll happen if he gets back there. The guardrails are gone. The few adults in the room the first time resigned or were fired.
No, Trump lost a lot of people because his administration, okay, I'll give him a critique and I'll also give him a benefit. His administration was initially staffed with the absolute wrong people, Reince Priebus, so on and so forth, Sean Spicer, just these absolutely incompetent people. But Steve Bannon and others were kind of trying to push Trump towards a direction of flushing out the establishment from his ranks. And he did eventually, which is why a lot of folks got fired, a lot of folks got scorned, a lot of folks got angry. People like this woman are now coming in and trying to paint a picture of this because they got scorned.
So to my fellow Republicans, you aren't voting for a Democrat. You're voting for democracy.
No, that's just not correct.
You aren't betraying our party. You're standing up for our country. Thank you.
Please welcome former Georgia Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan.
I mean, this is shameful too. Jeff Duncan, that's just shameful. It's shameful. It's shameful. First of all, if you're a Republican or you're a conservative and you're voting for Kamala Harris, you are, I don't care about, forget betraying your party. You're betraying your values, 110%.
Stand here as an American. An American that cares more about the future of this country than the future of Donald Trump. My journey started to this podium years ago when I realized Donald Trump was willing to lie, cheat, and steal to try to overturn the 2020 election. I realized Trump was a direct threat to democracy, and his actions disqualified him from ever stepping foot into the Oval Office again. I could spend my time revving up this crowd, but I'm certain I don't have to talk anybody out of voting for Donald Trump here. So I'm going to focus my attention on the millions of Republicans and independents that are at home that are sick and tired of making excuses for Donald Trump.
This should be good.
If Republicans are being intellectually honest with ourselves, our party is not civil or conservative. It's chaotic and crazy. And the only thing left to do is dump Trump.
No, this is crazy. Claiming to be a conservative, running to become the lieutenant governor of a state on a conservative platform, and then going to one of the most progressive, one of the most socialist adjacent conventions of the DNC, which redefines freedom in a grotesque way, and then still claiming to be a conservative. That is crazy. That's weird, to borrow their phrase. That's nuts to me, because it shows complete and utter disharmony within your soul, within your mind, within your own value system. Shame. It's tragic.
It will bring leadership to the White House that Donald Trump could never do. Let me be clear to my Republican friends at home watching. If you vote for Kamala Harris in 2024, you're not a Democrat, you're a patriot.
Did he really just say that? Did he actually just say that? Wow. Wow. I swear. How? Wow. How do you say that? No, we'll talk about it in a second. I got to process that one.
In our family, my wife Brooke and I are raising 3 boys, and we have a family motto. And it says, doing the right thing will never be the wrong thing. During 2020, during the lowest of lows, when we had armed officers outside our house protecting us from other Republicans, Donald Trump had targeted us. My son came downstairs and he handed me this coaster that I'd given him years before at a father-son retreat for our church. And he said, "Hey, Dad, doing the right thing will never be the wrong thing. Stay strong."
There's nothing more confused than someone who is convinced of their own self-righteousness, so much so that they behave in a manner that is beyond reproach and beyond correction. If you're beyond reproach and beyond correction, you can't possibly learn wisdom. You can't possibly refine yourself because you already see yourself as an immaculate being. That's the first problem with Mr. Duncan. The second problem with Mr. Duncan is very simple. It's that he is trying to conflate patriotism with a political position. Patriotism is pre-political in the sense that patriotism simply implies you have a fealty, a love of your country or what it represents, as opposed to the government, which is simply a part of the country that is impacted by voting. Voting is not a patriotic act. People say it's a civic duty, and I even put that, a civic duty. What is? I have duties to people who I am close to. I have duties to people on the basis of general principles to maintain society. What is my civic duty? That's a very interesting phrase. Well, and it's all never explained in a way that is coherent. Oh, they're trying to, okay, this is about J6 now. But yeah, a civic duty. No, people need to stop saying that. People need to stop saying that. Because that suggests you have a obligation to partake in the political process. You don't, by the way. Maybe you should in some cases, but you don't. Right? Our duties go beyond politics. That's the point I'm trying to make. Oh dear, not this again.
We're going to give riot warnings to the out here. We're going to give riot warnings. We're going to try and get compliance, but this is now effectively a riot.
49 hours declaring it a riot.
Time to 50 be advised, we're trying to breach and get to the Capitol.
We have a breach of the Capitol. Breach of the Capitol to the upper level.
My kids didn't have the courage to do what should have been done and our Constitution.
So there were over 1,000+ people charged on January 6th, and a majority of them were charged with 2 of the following charges: trespassing and disrupting official proceedings. Why are they not showing those offenses here? Out of the thousands of people charged, about 800 to 900 of them were charged with those things, whereas only a very small amount of people were charged with actual violent offenses. And those who were initially charged with violent offenses actually had their charges downgraded because the prosecution couldn't prove it in court, and federal judges were actually excoriating them for that. So there was an overcharging problem too. You have to literally be illiterate in history to believe most of what they're trying to say here.
We need to do it now. We lost the line. We lost the line. I want to get back.
H208 with 4 members. The door's barricaded. There's people flooded the hallways outside. We have no way out.
Officers still remaining on the House floor, so we can secure the members on the other side. Copy. Get them up! Get them up!
That's just not true. What does in connection mean? No, it's not true. No one died on that day except Ashley Babbitt. Regardless of how you feel about her or whatever, that's just simply a fact. In connection, out of those 1,500 people, why aren't they saying, they say charged with crimes related? What are those crimes? Say the crimes. They're speaking in abstractions to obfuscate the issue. Most people are charged with trespassing and disrupting official proceedings. That is it. That is it. So these people are basically arguing for the imprisonment of Donald Trump, by the way. This is where it's gotten. This is one of the reasons why I don't think Donald Trump should be overly conciliatory. You see? No. Lock him up. You see what they're saying? That's sick. This is sick. So this is why Trump does not need to be conciliatory with Barack. He said Barack Obama was a nice guy the other day. No, that's the wrong approach. I understand you're trying to win an election, but I'm sorry. These people have a different ethos from you. They have a decidedly anti-American ethos, but they believe problems are not going to be fought out in the public square of debate. They're going to be fought out in the back rooms of courthouses and in prosecutors' offices, where charges that don't even make any sense, that are unprecedented, are imposed upon a candidate for president to disenfranchise millions of people of their ability to consent to the government of their country, popular sovereignty, a basic bedrock principle of our republic. These people are calling for a rejection of that when they scream, lock them up. So that's what they're doing, in all honesty. Whereas Trump had several cases that he could have brought against some popular people on the left. But he didn't, because he wanted to unify the country. Sometimes you have to, no, all the time, you should stick with what is morally correct as opposed to what is consequently beneficial. If the two do not align, you always go with what is morally correct, no matter what.
Of Jim Crow. So I dedicated my career to protecting the votes against violence and discrimination. You can imagine what I felt on January 6th when I saw with my own eyes those insurrectionists trying to take that away. They did it to rob millions of Americans of their votes. They did it because Donald Trump couldn't handle losing. He lied about the election fraud. He called his conspiracy-led mob to Washington. He would rather subvert democracy than submit to it. Now,
so people are not realizing that, because this stuff is not often talked about, but there's always a process to confirm the votes in Congress. It's part of the entire Electoral College scheme. No, I mean, and if there's an impropriety, Congress has the right to send those back to the state and say, hey, we need to look into this. It's not subverting anything. It's how the system's supposed to work. But we've been laboring under this false ethos that America is somehow this system of popular decree as opposed to this system of classic Republican filtered out mechanisms and checks and balances. That's so much so that this kind of stuff seems like it's subversive. No, the subversive stuff is the ignorance that deprives people of being able to understand their political system in the correct way and obfuscates it in a manner that lends credence to the rhetoric of people that are incorrect. That is the bad thing. It's absolutely horrible. In fact, we'll get more into that later, but this is a problem. Ignorance is one of the biggest problems that the polity faces right now in America. Because if the American public was not ignorant about this in many cases, these arguments wouldn't actually fly, would be rejected and laughed out. Think about the most ridiculous thing you ever heard. If Americans were morally and constitutionally educated, what you're hearing tonight would be treated just like the most ridiculous thing you ever heard. But it's not. It's entertained by millions of people. And that's a tragedy.
Thank you. Before I begin, I need to acknowledge the sacrifices that 5 officers who died as a result of January 6 made on that day. My name is Aquilino Gonell.
By the way, if you are here, please leave a like. Please leave a comment in the chat if you want to. I always accept donations as well, but yeah, they're not obligatory, but you can leave one of those as well. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. We're going to have a nice night tonight.
While serving in Iraq, but nothing prepared me for January 6. We officers risked everything to protect innocent people. We were beaten and blinded. I was assaulted with a pole attached to the American flag. President Trump summoned our attackers and sided with them. He betrayed us. When I joined the Army and Capitol Police, I took an oath to defend the Constitution. I did so with duty in my soul, and I still feel it. To Donald Trump, I ask, why don't you?
That will change in the future, my friend. I'm confident of it, and I think you guys will be a big part in helping change that. But no, yeah, I've been at this for 5 years, guys. Hold on, it's been 5 years. Come on, 29. I've been doing this since 2019. Yeah, it's been 5 years. Yeah, it's been 5 years. You know you're getting old when you have to actually think about how many years it's been. Yeah, it's been 5 years. So there's been ups and downs, and if you guys want a little bit later, I'll go into that once we've watched some of these speeches. But yeah, no, that is a fact. But I think it's changing. I'm confident it is. But I appreciate that comment, Tyler, because I mean it's an acknowledgement of the path we've gone through and the path we still got to go. We still got to climb mountains here. We've got to climb mountains here.
Taught me to the Capitol. They taught me that it's sacred ground, a symbol of our democracy. When I got to Congress, I was excited to bring my little boys to the same beautiful building. I asked them, do you like the Capitol? And my oldest son, Austin, said, I love the Capitol, and lowercase too. They are so sweet. But shortly after, we saw something unimaginable. A mob tearing down flags, assaulting police officers. That night, I walked into the rotunda. The floor was covered in broken glass and garbage.
Is he about to cry about
strewn
this?
with the chaos unleashed by Donald Trump. And I thought to myself, how did it get this bad? So I did the only thing I could think of. I grabbed the trash bag and started cleaning up.
See, people are crying.
What I learned on January 6th,
people are tears
all of us,
are streaming down in their face
are caretakers for our
on the behest of a
republic.
half-witted account.
We can heal this country,
much more complex
but only
event.
if we try. Many of
People
you are doing
People
your
want to
part
feel their politics
through
more than
your
they want to
voices and
actually
your votes.
think through their politics.
Always remember, this chaos that we see, it doesn't have to be this way. As a father, I refuse to believe that our kids are doomed to grow up in a broken America. There is a hunger right now in this country for a new generation of leadership to step up. Let's choose Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Let's do this for our kids and our grandkids. Thank you.
Tragic.
Please.
Hello from a proud Texas Democrat. This November, I'll
going on
cast
here?
my first vote in a presidential election ever. The fact is, our right to vote is under attack. I've seen it. Long wait lines. People blocked from registering to vote. Texans denied our voice. Donald
Really?
Trump's Republicans are making it harder for us to vote. But
Really?
we won't let them get away with it.
Okay, if this was
Kamala Harris won't let them get.
if this was true, the ACLU and several other organizations would be suing. Obviously, it's not true. Obviously, she's giving a half truth here. It is true that there are Republicans that are pushing for election integrity measures. That's definitely true. Now, can you really construe it as a means of blocking your vote? Well, only if you intend to vote with through illicit means. If you don't, then you shouldn't construe it as an attempt to obstruct your vote. It is more than easy to vote. Right now, I can go ahead and go to my local elections office. I mean, and just write out a ballot and mail it in. That's my vote. It's incredibly easy. Is that Stevie Wonder? Oh, no, that's just so sad. This is so sad. One of my favorite, absolute legend, by the way, one of my favorite singers. And this is so sad. This is tragic. This is so sad. Stevie Wonder. They got Stevie Wonder. That's so sad. Tragic. Tragic.
I love you. And every song that I've sang, every song that I've written, it's because of my love for you right here. But this year I've prayed very hard for peace to come to our world's nations, but also to each one of our hearts. Even though our hearts have been beaten and broken,
this is sad.
Beyond prayer, I know the
tragic.
importance of action, and now is the time to understand where we are and what it will take to win. Win the broken hearts.
This is really tragic, guys. I can't say that enough. I'm sorry.
Win the angry spirits. Now is the time. This is the moment to remember when you tell your children where you were and what you did. As we stand between history's pain and tomorrow's promises, we must choose courage over complacency. It is time to...
By definition, complacency would be voting for the person who is in power right now, Kamala Harris, because you're not really changing the situation. You're simply moving her to the West Wing when her office is right already near there already. Complacency is not the justification. There's no justification for Kamala presidency, but if there is one, complacency is not one. It's so tragic.
Over anger, kindness over recrimination, and peace over war. Every time. We must choose to be above the ugly words, the hateful anger, and the division those words and anger create. We must keep on keeping on until we truly are a united people of these United States. And then we will reach our higher ground.
Unfortunately, yes. Unfortunately.
Are y'all ready? Are y'all ready to reach a higher ground? Are you ready to reach a higher ground? Tell me. I want to hear you again. Are you ready? Are we ready? Because you know we need Kamala Harris. Yes, we do. And we need a great man, as we do have, as a future vice president. You know that. So you know what? I'm depending on you to do, as Spike Lee would say, the right thing. Are y'all ready? Are y'all ready? Are you ready? Monsky, are you ready?
I'm ready, Steve.
Kansas, are you ready?
All right, ready, everybody. Clap your hands like this. Everybody clap your hands. Clap, clap, clap.
Okay, not sure I can play the music.
Somebody's
Okay, I'm muting the music. I don't want to get copyright, of course. You guys know if they're singing anything good. But this is truly tragic. Beyond tragic. The fact that, I mean, everything he was saying in that speech, he never really justified any of it. He never justified any of it. He just kept making these emotional, abstract appeals. And of course, now they're dancing. So let's discuss joy, because I have notes here since they're doing music, and I cannot play music, much that pains me because I like music a lot. Let's talk about joy, because I have some notes here. So when politics, so the emphasis on joy in the Kamala Harris campaign is reflective of a kind of politics that is based and informed by expression, as opposed to being based and informed by principles. Let me say that again. The emphasis on joy in the Kamala Harris campaign is based on a kind of politics that is informed by expression and not informed by principles. What do I mean? Expression is simply someone telling you something about themselves in a manner that is unique to them. The left has really made this a value. It's one of the reasons that they try to justify transing kids. They say that, well, you cannot deny their right to self-expression. It's one of the reasons they try to justify certain kinds of parades. You can't restrict expression. It's one of the reasons it's one of the things they use to shut down men that object to abortion. They say, well, you're not a woman and you don't have access to that kind of experience, and therefore you can't express yourself. Expression is one of those political symbols that means different things to different people, but it has this kind of moral force that shuts someone up when you use it against them. But it's unintelligible because you can't build a society or a political order or anything off of how somebody feels. Feelings are, if we look at human nature and we assess the categories of man's understanding of the world, feelings are at the bottom of the about the bottom of the totem pole. Feelings are right there in the category called instinct. Now, our instinct is what primitive man used. You guys are going to get a history lesson today. Or what primitive man used to survive in the world. If you're in a cave and you have a fire, you know that going outside the cave into the forest at night is a recipe for death. But instinct is where man began. Instinct is not where man stays. Instinct is simply an intuition that preserved us when we were at our bare minimum. As primitive man became civilized man, we moved from instinct to reason. And we moved to reason to dealing with higher ideas. And those higher ideas birthed civilization. So what they're doing is they're actually regressing human understanding and trying to get us to go back to primitive man's sensibility of instinct. And this is actually quite fitting, actually. If you look at Rousseau, who was a massive intellectual influence for the progressives. Rousseau basically says the noble savage, primitive man, is morally righteous, that man is born good. But it's society, and I meant this just in the video today, you guys may remember this, is the force that makes man evil. So if that's the case, then civilized man has a necessary problem with himself because he's informed by society, or he may be informed in the wrong way by society. So the agenda of the progressives is to literally regress man down to the level of a primitive person in his moral thinking, while still keeping him on the social level a creature and subject to the society and the political forces at hand, and then using that to justify their political positions. So joy, going back to joy, is one of the efforts that attempts to regress man to a primitive level and work him out on there. That's what joy is. So when you hear joy in this context, you have to realize they're appealing to your lizard brain. They're appealing to primitive man. They're appealing to that notion of goodness that allegedly lives in man's heart. They're appealing to these things that, in all reality, are ultimately oversimplifications. It is true, joy is a good thing, but joy is not an ethic. Joy is not a moral principle. Joy is not going to be able to determine if your community is safe. Joy is not going to be able to determine what kind of national security policy we should have. Joy is not going to be able to determine how your government is governed. Joy can't determine fiscal policy. Joy can't determine, domestic policy. Joy can't determine anything because it is not intelligible. But that's the entire point. That's the entire point. It's not supposed to be intelligible because it's a political symbol. Now, I could get into political symbols. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to work you guys out too much. But this is what I want you guys to be thinking of when you're watching this. This is conditioning that they're doing. They're trying to condition people towards a certain mindset. Anyway, let's my head hurts after that one. This is all off the cuff, by the way, guys. I don't really have any notes other than the ones I just wrote as we're watching this. So this is all off the cuff. We're getting Christian Watson unfiltered experience. So let's continue.
Okay, that's good. I guess we're going to move on from Matt. And this is Becky. Becky, can we hear you?
Hi, Keenan. It's great to be here.
Thank you.
Well, Keenan Thompson. I'm sure you guys know who this is.
Now, Becky, you're married, correct?
I am. Me and my wife have been together for about 8 years.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's very nice of you, my friend. Thank you for saying that. I'm working hard over here. You guys may not realize it, but I'm working hard.
Bad news for you.
It's hard to find things to say every minute of the moment, but I'm doing my best.
Project 2025 calls for the elimination of protections for LGBTQ plus Americans. So yeah, right back to the Stone Age. I'm afraid so.
Right back to the Stone Age. That's terrible.
Yeah, it is. Thank you, Becky, for being here and making that wonderful point. All right, next up, we have Nirvana. Nirvana, are you with us? And your people are with us as well? All right, good. Now, Nirvana, I understand that you are on insulin to manage your diabetes, yes?
Yes, and thanks to President Biden and Vice President Harris, I only pay $35 a month for my insulin.
Okay, pop quiz in the chat. What's the price of insulin under Trump? Pop quiz in the chat. I want to see if any of you guys know.
On page 465, Project 2025 calls for millions of people like yourself to pay more for prescription drugs like insulin.
Why?
Why? Well, I guess maybe to help Big Pharma make more money that they can donate to Republican politicians, I assume.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, unfortunately,
between 25 to 30. My memory fails me, but it was around that ballpark.
Let's talk to Anita. Anita,
it was around that.
There?
It was around that ballpark.
Yes.
Which is impressive.
Hello,
for
Anita.
a president to be able to do that.
Hello.
And Anita, what do you do for a living?
I'm an OBGYN who delivers babies and does surgery.
An OBGYN. She is an OBGYN that delivers babies. Uh-oh.
You know, this is silly.
It's bad news, isn't it?
It sure is.
It's bad news, isn't it? You guys are an OBGYN. What is this? This is like this guy's on SNL, and this is one of the reasons why SNL has fallen. This is one of the reasons because this is the kind of talent they have. And I'm not trying to insult him personally, but there is a culture of mediocrity around the kind of entertainment people consume. This is abysmal.
Hey, Keenan, I'm here.
Yes, Sharia, I love it. All right. Let's talk to you. I understand that you work for the federal government.
Yes, sir. I'm in the United States Department of Education. I'm a proud civil servant and a proud union.
Oh, he's about to say they're going to shut down the Department of Education. He's about to say it. I'm calling it. I'm calling it. I'm calling it.
Well,
I'm calling it.
Unfortunately for you, on page 78, Project 2025 calls for President Trump to purge the civil service of everyone who isn't a MAGA loyalist.
No,
are you a MAGA
that's not
loyalist?
what it says.
Now, Keenan, absolutely not.
I'm just asking. I mean,
no, it calls for Trump to get rid of civil service protections, which protects bureaucrats who have the ability to make rules that have the force of law, and then they are therefore held unaccountable. There are three subsections of the separation of powers, which is the core of our Republican government. There's one subsection that says there's a non-delegation principle. Non-delegation principle simply says that one branch cannot give its power entirely to another branch. And there's a second branch, the non-combination principle. The non-combination principle is a corollary of the non-delegation principle. The non-combination principle says that one branch can't accumulate too much power that would belong to other branches. Then there's the third principle of separation of powers, and that is the transparency principle, which basically says the executive branch has to be transparent to the other branches of government. Now, Jefferson said in one of his writings that the definition of tyranny is when there is no longer a meeting out of forces within the government. There's no longer a check and balance system in the government, and one branch accumulates all the power. So what Project 2025 is basically saying in this case, and by the way, I don't like all of it, but what it's saying in this case is that no, we need to have a transparency back to ensure the separation of powers remains a intact principle. That's all it's saying. So my head is hurting when I do all that stuff, when I conjure up all that. Anyway, let's continue.
Welcome to the third night of the Democratic National Convention. My name is Mindy Kaling. Thank you. For those of you who don't know me, I am an incredibly famous Gen Z actress who you might recognize.
I've never heard from her.
Thank you, the Mindy Project.
I don't know this lady.
Or as the woman who courageously outed Kamala Harris as Indian in an Instagram cooking video. Yes, you're welcome. I am so proud.
Hey, Tyler, I'm proud of you, man. Good job. I'm proud of you. That's a hard habit to break, but once you do, it's gonna be a much better quality of life for you. So I'm proud of you, man. Keep it up. Keep it up. Just remember, consistency is not supposed to be easy. Anything that's worth having is supposed to be hard. So keep it up, man.
That's how this works, right? That's like why I'm here. I've never been. I'm dying to go. And guys, I just really need a break. I know it's not the priority tonight, but just think about it. I am actually here because I have known the vice president for a long time.
Okay, so Gen Z actors, actresses, singers, this lady's like Leslie, a Gen Z actor, actress. I don't know these people. I don't watch modern day stuff, guys. I'm sorry. I'm so out of... I think the only modern day thing I think I watch is Star Wars, maybe. Like, I don't watch a lot of stuff that's made in like 2020, 2021, 2023. It just doesn't appeal to me. So all these different people that they're coming up, I don't know these people. It's funny. I know people that are not my generation more than I do people that are in my generation. I just don't get it.
Answer. Both of our mothers were immigrants from India who came to America and committed their lives to serving others. My mother, Swati, became an OBGYN. Thank you. Kamala's mother, Shimala, became a scientist with a PhD.
Okay. I heard about that.
dedicated
I
her
heard
life
about that.
to trying to find a cure for cancer.
Oh, I don't like that very much.
And after speaking to Kamala, it was clear to me that Shyamala had passed down the same optimism
Like
and
Velma from
fearlessness to
Scooby-Doo?
her daughter. But the thing I remember the most about the vice president is that Kamala Harris can cook. Guys, she was so much better than me. But she also knew that my family was watching. So as she gently corrected my sloppy dosa making, she was complimenting me every step of the way, making sure that my daughter Kit heard how
cook.
good of a cook I am.
This is.
She had no desire
I mean,
to
is she
be
running
seen
for
as
White
better
House
than
chef? I
anyone
don't
else.
understand.
She just wanted my kid to be impressed with
They're
her
trying
mom.
to make her relatable. I get it.
And when she finally,
Although, okay,
did
guys, most of Gen Z doesn't cook. Most of Gen Z orders on DoorDash or Uber Eats. So if they're trying to make her appeal to Gen Z by saying, "Oh, she can cook well," most of Gen Z hasn't even seen the inside of a pot or a pan that their parents didn't cook. I'm not insulting them. I'm just being honest. So, I mean, I cook too, but most don't cook. It's DoorDash and Uber Eats and all that stuff.
Democrats also need to win the House. So we have a lot to do, and please welcome to the stage your next Speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries.
Oh, God. It's one of the people who was instrumental in overthrowing Biden, by the way, just to be clear.
Privilege as a Brooklynite, New Yorker, and as an American to stand before you today and unequivocally express my support for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to be the next president and vice president of the United States of America. Over the last few years, House Democrats have been hard at work, and we could not have asked for a better leader to partner with than President Joseph Robinette Biden, who will go down as one of the most consequential presidents of all time.
I certainly agree. He is quite consequential, just not in the good way.
President Biden
Quite consequential.
selflessly passed the torch.
When you manage to freeze Russia out of the SWIFT system and in doing so crash your own economy for a certain period of time, that is very consequential. So Jeffries is actually getting that quite right.
Is a courageous leader, a compassionate leader, and a common sense leader who will deliver real results for everyday Americans. Kamala Harris is fighting for our freedom. Kamala Harris is fighting for our families. Kamala Harris is fighting for our future. Together, let's make Kamala Harris the 47th president of the United States of America.
Remember, I told all of you to be very careful when they talk about freedom, to notice how they're using it. Now, he's not using it in any way that we can really analyze because he's just asserting it. But I promise you, so tonight, I'm going to actually get the schedule for you guys. There's Bill Clinton coming up tonight. There's several people coming up tonight that are going to be quite major. And I bet you they're going to use the term freedom as justification for her presidency. You need to really pay attention to that. It's going to be very important.
Quality, affordable health care, and you deserve the chance to one day retire with grace and with dignity. But for far too many people in our great country, they are struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. And as a result, the American dream is out of reach. Here's the thing, extreme MAGA Republicans don't care about everyday Americans. They only care about themselves. Our approach, led by Kamala Harris and Coach Walz, is very different. We care about you, the American people. And we will fight hard to make sure that the American dream
we have
is
coming
alive
up this
and
hour.
well in
We
every
have Jeffries who's speaking
single
right
community.
now, Bill Clinton,
Now the road
Nancy
ahead
Pelosi, Josh Shapiro,
will not be easy.
and Catherine
Which
Masto
brings me
of Nevada.
to you know
Then
who.
at 10 p.m., we've got Westmore of
Donald
Maryland,
Trump
Pete Buttigieg,
is like an
Amy
old
Klobuchar,
boyfriend
and Tim Walz.
who you broke up with, But he just won't go away. He has spent the last 4 years spinning the block, trying to get back into a relationship with the American people. Bro, we broke up with you for a reason.
This is when you start using breakup and teenage breakup analogies to describe politics, you know the kind of minds we have running in significant parts of the country. This is the not the Speaker of the House. This is the one of the most powerful figures in the Democratic conference in the House. This is the guy that sets the legislative agenda for the Democratic Party using teenage breakup metaphors. Think about that, guys. The competency crisis is real.
Trump put 3 extreme justices on the Supreme Court who destroyed Roe v. Wade. We broke up with you for a reason. Donald Trump can spin the block all he wants, but there's no reason for us to ever get back
Look
together.
at all this. They're putting their hands up. This is so silly.
Done that, we're not going back. Kamala Harris and House Democrats will always put people over politics. Kamala Harris and House Democrats will lower costs and grow the middle class. Kamala Harris and House Democrats will fix our broken immigration.
I'm muting him. If anyone is just joining us now, thank you so much for being with me, guys. I appreciate it. I'm Christian Watson. I'm going to be doing this for this night and tomorrow, of course, for the grand finale. If you guys are new to the channel, then thank you so much for being here. I hope that you give us a chance and you subscribe or you like our videos or you comment or something like that. If you guys are not new here and you're just here to be here, thank you so much for supporting me. I appreciate it. I appreciate your constant engagement, and I also appreciate your willingness to listen to me tonight. And we have many other options, because trust me, there's almost everybody is streaming tonight, and I'm most certainly not the most biggest name in the world, but I really appreciate, out of all these options, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. So thank you.
The extreme MAGA Republicans want to divide us, but the Constitution promises equal protection under the law. We are one nation.
Progressives have used the Equal Protection Clause to do a lot of damage to the Constitution, which is very funny, because they've construed the Equal Protection Clause several times, sometimes unsuccessfully and sometimes successfully, to leverage social agendas by force of law. Different story, different day, but it's very important. When you hear things like that, think of historical parallels. Think of historical parallels.
The scripture tells us that weeping may endure during the long night, but joy will come in the morning. Here's how we do it. Strategize on Sunday. Meet the moment on Monday. Take it to them on Tuesday.
Well, Andy, I really appreciate you being here and everything and listening. You know, I'm trying to build a community of thinkers here, so I welcome folks with different positions. I'll tell you my position on abortion. I am 110% pro-life. My position is very radical. I don't really believe in exceptions. The only exception I believe in is the exception of an ectopic pregnancy, which I wouldn't even really consider an abortion. That's just a life-saving procedure. That's obviously something that I think should happen. If a woman is about to die, she should not have to die. But oftentimes in those cases, the baby is also dead. But in any other case, I really have a hard time justifying abortion. So I'm 100% pro-life. And in the future, I have a video as to why I believe that. I'll be responding to some popular pro-choice arguments, because there are some. There was one. There was an article written back in the 70s or 80s by Judith Jarvis Thompson on abortion, which is pretty popular amongst the pro-choice crowd. So I'm going to be responding to some of that and hopefully broadening the discourse on that issue. But thank you so much for being here.
Toward a more perfect union, nothing can stop us. We're all the way out. God bless you. God bless Kamala Harris. May God bless the United States of America.
You want to go outside today? Yes. You want to put your shoes on? Yes. Let's go outside. Ruby is 2 years old. I'm starting to think, will she be an iron worker like her dad? I hate to break it to you, but I'm not a billionaire. Donald Trump talked a big game about bringing jobs back to America, but it was all talk, like Foxconn.
This is the eighth wonder of the world.
Foxconn, by most estimates, has not even come close to meeting expectations.
This whole project was a scam. He is not looking out for the residents. He's looking out for himself.
You know what Trump delivered? $2 trillion in tax cuts focused on his billionaire buddies and big corporations.
You're rich as hell.
It makes me angry. Billionaires don't pay their share of the load. And he wants to do
No,
that.
totally. Totally.
Talked a massive game.
So labor unions are front organizations for political progressivism. They bill themselves as these representatives of the worker. That's not the case. If it was the case, you wouldn't have to have laws in place, like right to work laws that protect people from being forced into unions. They don't seek to protect the worker. They seek to, what they say, unionize the power of the worker to bully around the private sector. And this is the hidden secret about unions that really few people actually realize. They are front organizations. In theory, I do support the right to organize in the workplace, but I also understand that you don't have a right to organize in the workplace because necessarily you are in the workplace on condition of the goodwill of your employer. You do not own him. He does not own you, but you certainly don't own him either. It's supposed to be a mutual transaction. And labor unions kind of defy that entire principle. So, yeah, I have no love for them.
Please welcome the 42nd President of the United States, Bill Clinton.
Bill Clinton. All right, guys. This is going to be a big one. I'm probably going to be silent for most of it. I'll warn you guys, he made a speech a few years back, and the media absolutely loved him for it. They absolutely loved him for it. And they said that he basically articulated the best case for Obama. This is when Obama was running, I think. So we're going to see what's going to happen. I have suspicions, but I'm going to be quiet. Once the music stops, of course, because they can't have copyright on me. All right.
Okay. Thank you. Whoa. Let me ask you something. After the last 2 days, aren't you proud to be a Democrat? And I am very grateful to the Republicans and independents that have joined us, have been up here on the stage. And I hope they feel better about it now. Because I've seen all these things that even I have to be reminded of from time to time when I get my spirits down.
He's gotten very old. He's very, very old.
Obama's here. I love seeing President Biden. And I thought Hillary gave a great speech too. And I love seeing all these young leaders. A bunch of them are coming up after me. They look better, they sound better, and they'll be exciting. I do want to say one word about President Biden. Remember, he had an improbable turn that made him president. And we were in the middle of a pandemic and an economic crash. He healed our sick and put the rest of us back to work.
No, he did not. No.
And
no, that's not what happened.
he strengthened our alliances for peace and security. He stood up for Ukraine. He's trying desperately to get a ceasefire in the Middle East.
He threw money into a war that his own generals knew they couldn't win with Ukraine. There was things that were released basically admitting from the DOT that they knew they could not win, and there'd be a war of atrophy at best, and at worst, a lost cause to simply appease the Atlantic Council and the UN's desire to see Russia dethroned from their state of hegemony in that area of the world. That's basically what happened with Ukraine.
It helped his legacy, and it will enhance Joe Biden's legacy. And it's a stark contrast to what goes on in the other party. So I want to thank him for his courage, compassion, his class, his service, his sacrifice. Joe Biden, thank you. And he kept the faith, and he's infected a lot of the rest of us. Now let's cut to the chase. I am too old to gild the lily. 2 days ago, I turned 78, the oldest man in my family of 4 generations. And the only personal vanity I want to assert is I'm still younger than Donald Trump. Last night, in what I thought was a very moving series of episodes, we nominated Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And just think about that. 2 leaders with all-American but still improbable life stories. It could only happen here. Their careers, after all, started in community courtrooms and classrooms. 2 leaders who spent a lifetime getting the good job done. Now, one of the things that I've noticed over my increasingly long life, that a presidential election is unique in several ways. First of all, it's the greatest job interview for the greatest job in the world. Secondly, the Constitution says we, the people, get to do the hiring. And the third thing is that every 4 years, we get to change the requirements for the job.
No. That's not how it works either.
Because I try to apply this in every election. Will this president take us backward or forward?
You should expect every president to uphold the Constitution and execute the duties therein. That shouldn't change every 4 years.
Depends. Will this president bring us together or tear us apart? Will the president increase the peace, security, and stability and freedom that we enjoy and extend it to others as we can? We, the people.
You hear that? Extend it to others. What did Obama say last night? Obama said that the United States should be a force for good in the world. Clinton and Obama got us involved in foreign conflicts that had no apparent benefit to Americans, and in doing so, destabilized parts of the world.
Here are our problems. Solve them. Here are our opportunities. Seize them. Here are our fears. Ease them. Here are our dreams. Help them come true.
Yeah, this is just a fundamental difference. What he's describing is not an American version of a president. What he's describing is a lawgiver that shapes the lives of people, shapes the life of the citizenry by the use of force. That's not a president. That is that is the presuppositions of a benevolent despot who claims to have power he doesn't actually have. Kamala can't legislate joy. Joy is unintelligible, as I was saying earlier. It cannot be legislated. Expression cannot be legislated. These things do not come from a political program. And any attempts to inflict these things through a political program normally end in a disaster for the society.
And the other guy who's proved even more than the first go around that he's about me, myself, and I. I know which one I like better for our country. Kamala Harris will work to solve our problems, seize our opportunities, ease our fears, and make sure every single American, however they vote, has a chance to chase their dreams.
How is she going to do that? Is she going to do that by canceling student debt illegally and then getting it overturned by the Supreme Court and causing more inflation to happen, which will then depress the economic futures of Americans? How is she going to do that?
How can I help you? Now she's at the pinnacle of power and she's still asking, how can I help you?
I'm not quite sure what she's asking because she has not been held accountable by the press.
I'd be so happy.
Doesn't the Republic require a functioning free press to hold those in authority accountable? That's what the founders thought for a little bit, before they, of course, made the partisan press. Things went off the rails back then. Still, different story, different day. This is tragic, guys. I'm sorry. First of all, Clinton does not sound himself. Second of all, he is ascribing religious qualities to Kamala Harris.
And remember,
this is
we've
tragic.
got a guy that's pretty good at what he does. Donald Trump has been a paragon of consistency. He's still dividing. He's still blaming. He's still belittling other people.
I love that movie. That is a great movie.
He creates chaos, and then he sort of curates it.
Yeah. Turns to stone in my clutch. He's too much.
Let me say, not a single day goes by, even though I've been gone for well over 23 years from the White House, not a day goes by that I don't thank the Lord for the chance I had to serve and what it meant. And one of the reasons, thank you. Wait. One of the reasons I love the job
Thank you for the support, my friend. I appreciate it.
Is that in the toughest times, even on the darkest days, if you tried hard enough, there was always something good you could do for somebody else. Now, some days that's not easy to do. You've got to deal with all these emergencies, or there's something going on here, there, or yonder. But Kamala Harris is the only candidate in this race who has the vision, the experience, the temperament, the will, and yes, the sheer joy to get something done.
Jesus, just hearing that, literally. What you guys just saw me do was genuine. Jesus.
I mean, look,
Jesus.
what does her opponent do with his voice?
Because I just explained to you guys what the joy meant. Joy, for those of you who just came in, is degrading the human sensibility to a primitive level where you are controlled by your emotions, you are controlled by your desire to express yourself so much so that you forget what's important, you forget to use your reason. So when he says Kamala brings the joy, what he's actually saying is Kamala is going to turn you in to the progressive view of man. That literally gives me the jeebies. Seriously. That's very scary. I'm reminded of David Miscavige in Scientology when he says this stuff.
He's like one of those tenors opening up before he walks out on stage, like I did, trying to get his lungs open by singing me, 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 me. When Kamala Harris is president, every day will begin with you, 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 you.
This is not a very effective speech, by the way, guys. Like last night, Obama and Michelle were effective. This is not effective.
That we're going to hire a president. Do you want to build a strong economy from the bottom up and the middle out? Or do you want to spend the next 4 years talking about crowd size? You're going to have a hard time believing this, but so help me, I triple checked it. Since the end of the Cold War in 1989, America has created about 51 million new jobs. I swear I checked this 3 times. Even I couldn't believe it. What's the score? Democrats 50, Republicans 1.
What? Immediately after the Cold War, George Bush's father was the president. He was a Republican. Then Clinton came in. And Clinton was under the spell of the Republican legislature led by Newt Gingrich, which enacted their agenda. And Clinton was actually government-led conservative. So that's actually a conservative victory. Then George Bush came in, then Obama. So what is he talking about? If his argument is true, all of that job creation would have taken place under multiple different presidents. That's odd.
Limited of us and what we know about football or any other sport knows that if you're got 50 and the other side's got 1, you're ahead.
If you're going to use jobs numbers to justify your political regime, you should at least make sure you can claim credit for all of them, because you can't claim credit for every job created between 1989 and 2024. What? How? Do you know what happened between those years? The tech boom, all kind of things. Crypto, the smartphone boom, all those things happened. The internet boom, everything happened. Like what? The stupidity from our leaders is just astounding.
We need more financing for small businesses. We need still to strengthen our alliances. I almost croaked in the first debate of this election season when President Trump said nobody respected America anymore like they did when he was president. Wait. And with a straight face. Look, you got to give him. He's a good actor. With a straight face, he cited as evidence of the respect that existed for us when he was there, the presidents of North Korea and Russia.
Yeah. Yes. 2 countries that have the ability to blow up the world several times over. It's quite important if they respect the current president, because they'll be less likely to try something. Yes. With the fist. This is so silly. She had her fist up.
Signal to the other countries. Jesus. You want them to know whether they agree with you or not, at least that you're on the level. Here's where you are and what you believe. What are they supposed to make to these endless tributes to the late, great Hannibal Lecter? I mean, President Obama once gave me the great honor of saying I was the explainer-in-chief. Folks, I've thought and thought about it, and I don't know what to say. Like Hakeem Jeffries, I too want an America that's more joyful, more inclusive.
Stop
more
saying that
future-focused.
word. This is
Just think
beyond cult level.
what a burden it's been on us.
I don't.
To get up day
Do I need to
after
make a
day
video
after
about joy,
day
guys?
after day,
Do I need to make a video about joy?
buried in meaningless hot
I need to make a
rhetoric
video about joy, don't I?
when there's so many
I'm gonna make a
opportunities
video
out
about
there,
joy, guys. I
so
have to
many
do it. I'm
problems
sorry,
that need to be
because
solved.
this is creeping me
I
out.
want that.
This is terrible.
And that's the America Kamala Harris will lead. And she's already made her first presidential decision, and she knocked it out of the park when she asked Governor Tim Walz to be her nominee for vice president. As they used to say when I was a young man growing up in Arkansas, you do not have to be all broke out with brilliance. You just look at Tim Walz, listen to him, follow his record as a teacher, as a coach in the National Guard, as a congressman, where he was the only Democrat, save one, elected in that district in more than 100 years. And he stayed a long time. And then he became a great governor.
A great governor who bragged about having his state be one of the highest tax states in the country, set the corporate tax rate to a burdensome extent, therefore causing a lot of businesses to leave Minnesota. A great governor who quite literally allowed his city to burn for the first few hours of a riot and hesitated when deploying the National Guard. A great governor who quite literally praised the CCP. A great governor. What is great about him as a governor? He hates human excellence, so he taxes people. He thinks that riots are the touchstone of the age, like his wife said. What he thinks that socialism is neighborly. Thinks that the CCP is a prototype for greatness. What's so great about him? He's folksy? That doesn't cut it. I'm sorry.
An interesting dilemma. We're going to walk out of here feeling pretty good, I think.
Because it's all about feeling good. Joy, joy, joy. Happy, happy, joy, joy, right? Remember that meme, guys? That gay meme from like a few years ago. Happy, happy, joy, joy. Remember that? This is what this is, basically.
That the forces of progress have had to fight for 250 years. In the face of stiff and often violent opposition, we have to find a way to go forward together, where we the people make our union more perfect. So that's a good thing. How could we possibly lose? Kamala Harris has fought for kids her whole life that were left out and left behind.
We're going to do much more of this. We're going to do way more of this. I'm trying to get used to doing live. We used to do live all the time, but I've grown accustomed to recording stuff. But we're going to do more of this if you guys want me to.
And we know a majority of the American people are with us on that. And she's gained an invaluable amount of experience as vice president, advancing our values and interests around the world. She's already said she's going to work really hard to make sure that no American working full-time lives in poverty or has to worry about their children living in poverty. He says that we got to make home ownership an achievable dream for everyone, not just a privilege. She said that and this meant a lot to me, that she would protect everybody's right to vote, whether or not they voted for her. They were citizens and they deserve the right to vote.
Do you guys remember when Bill Clinton tried to ensure everyone had the ability to own a home? Do you guys remember what happened with that? Do you remember what happened with that? Students of history remember very clearly what would happen with that. Happened in 2008. There was a big bubble that burst, almost tanked the economy of the United States, degraded the dollar. Remember that? Remember that, guys? So how is she going to assure, how is Kamala Harris going to assure that everyone has a chance to own a home? Okay, let's look at this logically, okay? I'm 24 right now. Right now, my chances of owning a home are worse than my parents' chances of owning a home, and worse, most definitely worse than my grandparents' chances. My grandparents and my parents both owned homes. I may not ever own a home, given how things are going. If things go this bad, home values are ridiculous right now because of the inflation, because of the economic mismanagement of the country, because of a lot of the policies that Biden has put in. The sanctions on Russia, they have tanked the ability for home ownership. And then you have these big multinational corporations coming in, buying up all the single-family homes. They don't tell you about this one. Buying up all the single-family homes and then turning them into rentable properties. So you literally have corporations coming in, buying up the homes and making it so you can only rent them and never own them. So do you guys understand what's going on? It's a system, okay? It's a system. Why isn't Bill Clinton talking about this? Democrats claim to hate big business while talking about the fact that homeownership has been made impossible by corporations that are quite literally tuning it so we can't own anything. It should be illegal, in my opinion, for a big corporation to buy up a property and then hold it hostage. They should only be able to buy commercial properties, not personal residences. That's just my opinion. It's not very, free market, I guess, but that shouldn't be the case, in my opinion.
And so, as somebody who spends a lot of time in small towns and rural areas in New York and Arkansas and other places, I urge you to talk to all your neighbors. I urge you to meet people where they are. I urge you not to demean them, but not to pretend you don't disagree with them if you do. Treat them with respect, just the way you'd like them to treat you. Ask for their help and then follow our leader, Kamala, and ask them, how can I help you?
Our leader? How can I help you?
Democrats
Joy?
right now,
this is cult-like messaging, guys. This is absolutely cult-like messaging.
Massive advances, but there's still a lot of slips between today and Election Day that we have to navigate. And so I want to say
Biden healed the sick. I mean, this is some demented shit. Sorry for girls, this is demented.
How many more of these I'll be able to
This is demented in the most.
Started in the 70s.
See, I've explained the thinking behind this, but just to hear it, even I'm like, this is demented. This is some wicked human psychology.
Lord, I'm getting old. But here's what I want you to know. If you vote for this team, if you can get them elected and let them bring in this breath of fresh air, you will be proud of it for the rest of your life. Your children will be proud of it. Your grandchildren will be proud of it. Take it from a man who once had the honor to be called in this convention the man from hope. We need Kamala Harris, the president of joy, to lead us.
Stop saying that. Now I'm getting mad. First it creeped me out, now I'm getting mad.
So,
now I'm getting upset.
I'll be doing my part, you do yours. I'll see you when we're making a real joyful noise when the votes are counted.
He
God
said
bless you.
it
And
again.
God bless
He
America.
said it again. All right, we're muting that for now. Oh my Lord. First of all, this is not the Bill Clinton of a few decades ago. Not a few decades, excuse me. Not a few decades ago. About a decade ago, Bill Clinton made a similar speech. I think he was speaking in favor of Barack Obama's second term at the DNC. And that speech was widely panned by the media. It was called, it's the greatest thing ever. They said that Bill Clinton destroyed the Republican Party. Well, if that was the case, and by the way, I think that speech is exaggerated as well, then most certainly it's not the case now. This is one of the weakest speeches I have heard from somebody. Some of the weirdest arguments I've heard from somebody trying to say that the Democrats can take credit from every job created from 1989 to 2024, despite the fact that several things that happened in those eras that created jobs were outside the scope of politics at all. I mean, this is just really, really weak stuff from someone who once captivated the American public. Some of you are probably old enough to remember when he was president. I mean, from what I've studied, he was an immensely charismatic person who seemed relatable, even though he wasn't all that smart. He captured the mind of the public, and to see him today, age is no excuse. You can keep charisma up until your old age. To see him today and to see this is just absolutely, it's a reminder of how great the mighty fall. Sincerely. Making these religious references with joy, and Biden healed the sick. That's what Clinton said. This is some very, very weak stuff. There's some stuff that I don't expect from someone of his caliber. So.
The mother of dragons, please welcome Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, God.
Hello, California. Hello, Maryland. Hello, Democrats. On January 20th, 2021, with the inauguration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, we established one of the most successful presidencies of modern times. And we quickly proved that Democrats deliver. Millions of jobs, stronger infrastructure and rural broadband, a Biden child tax credit.
Well, colors are a proxy for an ideological statement. Oh, what happened? Okay. All right. Yeah, we're back. Yeah, so colors are a proxy for an ideological statement. I'll explain this to you guys just so we don't have, because we don't really have to listen to Nancy Pelosi. She's not going to be the most consequential speaker tonight. So, for example, when they say listen to Black voices, what they're actually saying is not listen to Black people. They're actually saying listen to people who express their race as a means of a political value. So it's not really about the race. It's about the value being exercised through discourse that manifests itself through a proxy. So people say, well, they make everything about race and color. Well, only because it's a proxy for a greater idea. So that's how they do that. And it's loading, guys. Excuse me, I can't control this. It's loading.
And I know that Vice President Harris is ready to take us.
Yeah, why is the feed giving us problems tonight? Hold on, let me try to fix something.
Live.
No. Yeah, the feed is giving us problems tonight, guys. My apologies. I don't know. This is not on my end. This is not on my end. This is on their end. This is on their end. So, all right. Well, we're just going to talk until the feed starts to load. This is not on my end. But yeah, no, this is truly one of the more bizarre nights I think I've seen so far of this. The first night was not that great. Yesterday was yeah. I'm gonna try going somewhere else. Let me remove this. The first night was not that great. Yesterday was I think better than the first night, and just today is just, man. I think it's one of the worst nights, but of course we could be outdone. Okay, here we go. Okay. No, he's done speaking, Blue Stream. Okay.
Betrayed his oath of office. Let us
You guys hear
not
her?
forget who assaulted
hear her?
democracy on January 6th. He did.
Okay.
But let us not forget who saved democracy that day. We did. And thank God we had a Democratic House of Representatives then. We returned to the Capitol that very same night. We insisted on certifying the election results on the floors of the House and the Senate. And we demonstrated to America and to the world that American democracy prevailed. The parable of January 6th reminds us that our democracy is only as strong as the courage and commitment of those entrusted with its care. And we must choose leaders who believe in free and fair elections, who respect the peaceful transfer of power. The choice couldn't be clearer. Those leaders are Vice President Harris and Governor Walz.
Yeah, apparently we got
rose on
biblical level
January
parables out
7th
here
as
being
our
dropped by the
national
Democrats. Who would have known?
Declares.
Who would have
We
known?
gave proof
The prodigal son
tonight
has nothing
that
on
our
Kamala's
flag
parables,
was
guys.
still there.
Prodigal son, no. Kamala's parables, yes.
This election, we are called upon to do the same, to stand together, to reject autocracy, to choose democracy, and we will do so by electing a Democratic House with Hakeem Jeffries as Speaker of the House. Electing a Democratic Senate, electing Tim Walz as Vice President of the United States, and electing Kamala Harris as the President of the United States. Onward to victory.
That's it? That's probably one of the shortest speeches of the night. Wow. That's it?
Please
Terrible
welcome
speech, by the way.
Alexander Hudlin. Just
Terrible speech. Terrible speech. So far, Clinton has given the best speech, I think, so far tonight. And it was bad too.
Kamala Harris is our auntie.
She'll be a president who cares for all of us.
She'll lift us up. In 2016, we celebrated Auntie's Senate win. We saw Trump winning. I was only 9, but I knew enough to be concerned. Auntie said, "Do you know what superheroes do? They fight back."
No.
And we will too.
She will make time for what matters. You know, no one is busier than my auntie.
This is what we call hagiography. This is hagiography. They're doing Kamala hagiography right now. That's simply when you speak very highly of someone in almost every single sense. It's hagiography. And hagiography only works when it goes to the deserving. And few humans are as deserving to deserve this much hagiography. I really hate when things that are meant to be rewarded for virtuous purposes are awarded simply to make a political point. That cheapens these things that are eternal.
Grounds.
Auntie, we love you.
We're so proud of you.
And most importantly, you're a baller. And as you'd say, let's win this thing.
Let's win this thing.
Please welcome.
That is what Drew Barrymore
for
said.
U.S. Congress in California.
That was embarrassed too.
Latifah Simon.
Hello, Democrats!
Oh, God.
My name is Latifah Simon, and I am running for Congress. And I'm here tonight to tell you all about the Kamala Harris that I know. I'm going to tell you.
Oh, okay then.
When Kamala Harris was the district attorney in San Francisco, California, I was a teen mother running an organization working to end sex trafficking among beautiful young women and girls to build the self-determination and power among those girls. And Kamala learned about the work that I was doing, and she asked me to join her team. And I joined her team. She saw my potential, my commitment, and the good work that we could do together. And I saw her. I saw Kamala Harris holding the hands of sexual assault survivors. I saw scores of mothers who lost their babies to gun violence, lining up day after day at the courthouse, waiting only to speak to Kamala because they knew that she would hear them, that she would truly see them, because there's something about Kamala Harris. For those who know her, you know, when she hears your story, she carries it with her. When she sees you, she truly sees you.
So I don't want to get into the question of personal character here because that oftentimes is not productive. But if we're going to use personal character to justify Kamala Harris since the presidency, which is what this lady is doing, then we should probably take account of the numerous reports from people that did work for her that allegedly she ran abusive work environments, that she's not a very nice person, that she had a way of scheming to get her way as opposed to being honest. I mean, there are a lot of folks who worked directly under her who literally left, not only in her attorney general's office, but also in her White House office as well, very recently. So I don't think it's wise to devolve this into an assessment of personal character as a means of political ascension, because Kamala would definitely lose, apparently, in that category.
When she goes into that Oval Office, when she goes into
This lady a
that
prophet?
Oval Office, I guarantee
Just a
you
prophetess
she
or
will
something?
take all of us with her. All of us.
No, she won't.
The single mothers, the disabled veterans, the low-income folks who are dying to survive, the immigrants who are trying to work towards the promise of America. She will take us all. The farm workers, she will take us
Yeah,
all
the
with her.
histrionics, the gesticulations, the gospel-esque manner. Yeah. She's imitating a prophet right now.
Kamala Harris
Self-proclaimed prophet.
that I know so deeply. That is the Kamala Harris that I love. A woman of the people. A woman, a fierce woman for the people. Good night, Democrats.
Please welcome former U.S. Associate Attorney General of the United States and the Vice President's brother-in-law, Tony West.
What in the world?
35 years ago, in my first week at law school, I met a new classmate, Maya Harris. We became best friends, but the way Kamala tells the story, we'd already fallen in love by graduation day. And when Maya and I married, I not only gained a life partner I love, a daughter I adore, and a mother-in-law I revered, someone I affectionately called Mother Harris, I also gained a sister I cherish, Kamala. Now, Maya, Kamala, and I each pursued different legal careers, but we were motivated by the same values: a belief in equal opportunity, a yearning for fairness, a passion for justice. Values Mother Harris taught those two little girls. Values that powered
So
Kamala's
this is Kamala Harris's sister's husband, who is the brother-in-law of Kamala Harris. Again, so the only reason I could think they're bringing this person out is because, again, they're trying to use her character to justify her political ascension. But I'm telling you, this is not the game they want to play, because there are a lot of reports that Kamala is allegedly abusive in the workplace. Lots of them. This is not the realm they want to fight in, because she can't win.
Monday, but not Kamala. You see, my sister-in-law knew that if the judge didn't see this woman that afternoon, she'd spend the entire weekend in jail. And Kamala, she wondered, does this woman work weekends? Would she lose her job? Does she have young kids at home? Who'd feed those kids? So Kamala pleaded for the judge to return to the bench and to hear the matter. And the judge agreed. And within minutes, that woman was released back to her family that night. Now, it may seem small, but that's what it means to stand up for justice. That's what it means to stand for the people. And as Kamala says, when you know what you stand for, you know what to fight for. And look, believe me when I tell you, as a sister, a daughter, an auntie, and a mother, I've seen Kamala fight for her family. As district attorney, attorney general, U.S. Senator, and Vice President of the United States, I have watched her fight in the halls of power for those who have...
They are inadvertently opening her up to a lot of character criticisms. Look, forget politics for a second. If I'm trying to win an election, the last thing I'm going to do is try to appeal to my candidate's sense of goodness if I know damn well they have a lot of allegations against them in that realm. This is not a wise strategy. It really isn't. I can't stress that enough.
A crime against any one of us is a crime against all of us.
The work that she did as Attorney General was taking on issues to help people who were trying to make a life for themselves and their families.
When Kamala Harris came into office in 2011, the most urgent economic crisis facing communities throughout California was the foreclosure crisis.
For too many Californians, hopes for lasting homeownership have been dashed. Victims have fallen prey to a series of mortgage scams, fraud, and unfair business practices.
In order to get meaningful relief, we had to sue the banks and see through a lengthy litigation process.
When Kamala was sitting at the table negotiating, it wasn't just about the money.
Ironically enough, Kamala would actually cause a lot of people to be in this same situation if she got into office and actually implemented her agenda to ensure people have a house. The first thing that's going to happen when you try to mandate homeownership, other than eventually bubbles happening and bursting and the economy crashing, is there's going to be a bunch of banks that are predatory that will take advantage over the new government incentive to go ahead and supply those houses. So again, this does not work in her favor. This is so bad. Guys, this is so bad. I'm sorry. This is terrible on so many levels. It's not even politically wise. This is bad.
She believes that she can have a bigger impact.
We are making a commitment tonight with this celebration of this Senate race to bring our country together.
In the Senate, to get a position on the Intelligence Committee is very coveted because it is about protecting our nation's security. And Kamala hit the ground running. She would not let a witness off easily.
Did you have any communications with Russian officials for any reason during the campaign that have not been disclosed?
I don't recall it. I need to be correct as best I can.
I do want you to be honest.
I'm not able to be rushed this fast. It makes me nervous.
Her questioning of Attorney General Sessions was,
if you're on the Senate Intel Committee, you are an insider in Washington. You are, in some way, shape, or form, a part of the managerial class. You have access to things that most people don't have access to, and for that reason, the CIA and the intelligence agencies treat you differently than they would treat most normal politicians. So that should actually be a mark against her, in my opinion.
I'm not thinking of any right now, Senator.
They didn't know what hit them. And in those moments, so many people saw her for the first time and saw how tough she was.
Would you accept them recommending a charging decision to you if they had not reviewed the evidence?
Well, that's a question for Bob Mueller. He's the U.S. attorney.
I think you've made it clear, sir, that you've not looked at the evidence, and we can move on.
When she's on a mission, she is determined and relentless.
When our fundamental values are being attacked, do we retreat or do we fight? I say we fight.
If you want to go forward in this country, not go backward, then there is only one choice.
That waving picture is so much. I'm just seeing.
Please welcome Nevada Senator Catherine Cortez
Now I'm seeing so many different leaders that have that same exact thing. It's so, the imagery here is so palpable.
Hello, Chicago. You know, before I was senator, I was Nevada's Attorney General.
Okay, we don't know who this person is, so I'll cut into her speech, talk to you guys a little bit here, because I'm sure you guys are getting as tired as I am of listening to the histrionics and the sort of faux religious invocations and all the nonsense. So for all of you who are joining us now or who have been here for a while, regardless, thank you so much for being here. I'm Christian Watson. I appreciate you guys being here with me to watch this absolute, utter disaster unfold, because it is important for us to understand what the people on the other side are thinking, how they are talking about issues, what extent, to any, is a coherent worldview of influencing their conclusions, and the responses that we can give to their worldview intelligently, which will ultimately help us appreciate the issues more and aid us in preserving America and restoring it as well to its proper state. So I appreciate all of you watching. I will do many more of these live streams. I don't know when. I don't know if it'll be a regular thing, but the numbers that we've gotten are actually pretty encouraging, because normally I don't get over double digits in my live streams, but now we have, after the viral video a month or so ago that I talked about Kamala, people are coming in. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being here. You can support me by liking this video. If you're in here and you have not liked the video yet, then please do it, because the algorithm will recommend me people, and I really appreciate that. You can comment in the chat. You can donate if you want to, whatever. And so I'm really grateful, and enjoy the rest of the stream. I hope they wrap this up very soon, because this is really exhausting. It's really exhausting.
So trust me when I say I know she will fight for our families and our freedoms. Now we must fight for her. Every vote matters. I know. In 2016, Nevadans elected me, the granddaughter of a baker from Mexico, to serve as the first Latina in the United States Senate. I'll tell you what. And in 2022, my reelection came down to 7,928 votes. Because of voters in Nevada, the Democrats won the Senate majority. And I'm here to tell you, we can do it again. We can send Kamala Harris and Tim Walz to the White House. Are we ready to do it? Are we ready to fight? Let's get it done, Chicago. Thank you, everyone.
While we're in interlude here, let me
Please
actually.
Welcome Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro.
My governor. Jesus. I'm sorry, guys. We have to watch this. I'm sorry. We have to watch this. And be grateful he wasn't the VP pick either. He is a really shrewd operator. I'll leave it at that.
2.5 centuries ago in Philadelphia, a band of patriots declared their independence from a king and set ourselves on a path of self-determination. Generation after generation has embraced that responsibility. Ordinary Americans rising up, demanding more, seeking justice. And in every chapter of our American story, we've made progress and advanced the cause of freedom. Today we find ourselves writing that next chapter. Will we be a nation defined by chaos and extremism? Or will we choose a path of decency, honor, and continued progress? Kamala Harris
depends on what all that means.
Her entire career making progress. Donald Trump, a man with no guardrails, wants to take away our rights and our freedoms. And listen, while he cloaks himself in the blanket of freedom, what he's offering isn't freedom.
Define it for us. Define it for us.
Because hear me on this.
Define it.
It's not freedom to tell our children what books they're allowed to read.
Oh, okay. So we should have sexually explicit books in the schools. Okay. Okay.
And it's not freedom to tell women what they can do with their bodies.
So we should destroy the unborn. Okay. Okay.
And hear me on this. It sure as hell isn't freedom to say you can go vote, but he gets to pick the winner. That's not freedom.
Oh, so we have a direct democracy as opposed to an electoral republic? Oh, okay. We're getting some interesting definitions tonight, guys.
We are the party of real freedom.
The hell you are.
That's right. The kind of real freedom that comes when that child has a great public school with an awesome teacher because we believe in her future.
Having good education does not
Real
make
freedom,
you more free
real
or
freedom
less
that
free.
comes when we invest in the police and in the community so that child can walk to and from school and get home safely to her mama.
Community safety starts in the community, not in the government.
Real freedom that comes when she can join a union, marry who she loves, start a family on her own terms, breathe clean air, drink pure water, worship how she wants.
He's mixing categories. He just mixed freedom of association with freedom from environmental toxins, which is not freedom at all. Air quality has nothing to do with freedom. Freedom is a personal condition of a morally enlightened individual. We've gone through this already. It has something to do with the environment.
Real freedom that comes when she can look at Madam President and know that this is a nation where anything and everything is possible. That is real freedom.
Joy is not freedom.
We are fighting for.
No. If this is what you're fighting for, you have no battle plans and you're bound to lose.
You know, Kamala and Tim's names may be on the ballot, but it's your rights. It's our rights.
Oh, he is.
It's our future and freedoms that are on the line. And you have the power to shape the future of this country. Just like our ancestors who fought for freedom on the battlefield and sat in at lunch counters so our kids could stand up. Now it's on us.
He is unfortunately the governor of Pennsylvania and a potential future Democratic nominee.
And on our For You pages around three basic American principles. We value our freedom. We cherish our democracy, and we love this country.
Democracy and freedom are antithetical. They are two opposing concepts. Yeah, they all imitate Obama's
We
verbiage.
love this country.
It's very funny, isn't it? It's very interesting,
And
isn't
listen,
it?
despite our challenges, hear me on this. I want you to know I have never been more hopeful because I see in all of you the enduring promise of America. E pluribus unum, out of many one. It's not merely a motto from the past, it's our direction for the future.
I'm reminded of what Wilson said.
You see, you all give me hope, and you all have the power. So let's use that power. Let's do the hard work necessary to win this election and write the next chapter in our American story. So are you ready to protect our rights? Are you ready to secure our freedoms? And are you ready to defend our democracy? And are you ready to elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz? America, let's get to work.
Please welcome author, activist, and youngest presidential inaugural poet in American history, Amanda Gorman.
Guys, who is this? I don't know who this is.
We gather at this hallowed place because we believe in the American dream. We face a race that tests if this country we cherish shall perish from the earth, and if our earth shall perish from this country. It falls to us to ensure that we do not fall, for a people that cannot stand together cannot stand at all. We are one family,
No, we're
regardless
not.
of religion,
We are not one
class,
family.
or color.
We are
For
not
what
one family.
defines a patriot is not just our love of liberty, but our love for one another.
Common humanity is important, but not everyone who is common to you is like you. Your family is like you. Therefore, not everyone's your family.
Our country's call, because while we all love freedom, it is love that frees us all.
This is the problem with poets, guys. They speak in abstraction and don't actually tell you what they mean.
Empathy emancipates, making us greater than hate or vanity. That is the American promise, powerful and pure. Divided, we cannot endure, but united.
Empathy can also enslave you to your lower passions and make you make wrong decisions too. It is not always emancipate. Sometimes it enslaves. You need to temper empathy with your ability to think, with logic.
And make no mistake, cohering is the hardest task history ever wrote. But tomorrow is not written by our odds of hardship, but by the audacity of our hope, by the vitality of our vote.
Vitality of your votes. Oh.
Only now, approaching this rare air, are we aware that perhaps the American dream is no dream at all.
Is a vote a living thing, guys? I didn't know non-living things can have vitality. It's interesting.
Like a million roots tethered, branching up humbly, making one tree. This is our country, from many won, from battles won, our freedoms sung, our kingdom come has just begun.
Has it? Who's kingdom? Whose kingdom?
Redeem this sacred scene, ready for our journey from it. Together, we must birth this early republic and achieve an unearthly summit. Let us not just believe in the American dream. Let us be
heaven on earth,
worthy of it.
The goal of left-wing revolutionaries is to do what is called monetize the. All that means is to bring their idea of heaven onto earth. So she literally just argued for bringing heaven upon earth. Thine kingdom come, being that the product of progress is going to happen, and it's coming from all of our hearts and through political processes. When someone says voting has vitality, you can understand what view they have of society. They have what's called an organic view of society. And I'll get into that in a second, because that's actually a theme in the progressive tradition, viewing society as an organism as opposed to a set of rules and customs made by people. But anyway, let's continue.
Spirit of freedom. For me? Oh, yeah. Freedom to me means choice.
The ability to laugh with friends.
Be who you want to be.
God.
Go where you want to go.
Living your life day to day. Having new chapters in that life.
I believe in having your own words and being able to do what you want to.
The freedom to
That's not freedom, by the
raise
way.
our family in healthy communities.
The idea that I can turn to my partner, my husband, and say I love you with every being of my soul.
People are so confused about what freedom means.
Being able to, support the missions that I want to go to the church that I.
Okay, guys, I'm going to link something in the chat. When the stream is over or whenever, I want you guys to go and like the video, subscribe, or comment on the video, because I just made a video about this very topic. They are literally misusing the word freedom on several levels.
Big, fantastic thing about America is that it is the land of opportunity. I know it sounds trite, but it's the truth.
I grew up with a single mom, and she really imbued in me these qualities that you just really have to care about your neighbors and your family and your friends.
I feel like the American dream is
having opportunities, having opportunity to go to college if you want to, having opportunity to get any job you can, no matter who you are or where you come from.
The American dream is about having the ability to make choices about your medical care and do whatever you want to do with your life.
Well, why are they using someone who has an awful condition for their political? This is sick, guys. This is sick. This is sick.
We are in an incredible moment in history.
That is so sick. That person obviously has a condition that is hard for them. You're going to use them as a prop for your political product. That is so sick. That is demented. There's no sound. I'm so sorry, guys. I had muted. I didn't know I had muted the video. Sorry.
I want a future for
I still hear it on my
that
end. I'm
he
sorry.
knows that he's covered.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Everyone should think about what we can leave to the next generation. It's our responsibility. It's what we have to do.
My name's Tyler.
My name's Yvette.
And we believe in love.
I'm Alex.
I'm Kiara.
My name is Steven.
My name is Charlie. I'm a proud 7th generation Texan.
I am from Waterford, Michigan, just north of Detroit. I'm from East Tennessee.
And we believe in the American dream.
We believe in a better world for our child, and
They never define these things.
My name is Karen, and
What they do is they talk in generalities. They deploy political symbols. We have a video coming out tomorrow on political symbols and how they shape culture. I'm actually going to use this video as an example of them because there's so much richness in this in terms of that. They use political symbols to make things sound plausible without ever talking about them. What's happening here is a kind of linguistic wizardry. That's what I would call it. That's what it is on several levels. They're deploying pathos. They're using political symbols. They're speaking in general ways. Woodrow Wilson said that that there are two kind. Oprah. Wait, Oprah. Okay, let me stop my lecture for a moment. Wow. Is this serious? Are you serious? Are you serious?
Good evening, everybody!
Are you serious?
Who says you can't go home again? After watching the Obamas last night, that was some epic fire, wasn't it? Some epic fire. We're now so fired up, we can't wait to leave here and do something. And what we're going to do is elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States. I am so honored to have been asked to speak on tonight's
I don't know what to do,
theme
guys.
about what
This is
matters
tragic.
most to me, to you, and all of us Americans.
She was quite interesting in those days, wasn't she? I've watched some of her shows from those days, and she was a force of nature. She was still very into New Age and stuff like that, but she was a force of nature.
You who want to rule you, people who'd have you believe that books are dangerous and assault rifles are safe.
Oh,
There's
God.
a right
Come on.
way to worship and a wrong way to love.
Okay.
People who seek first to divide and then to conquer. But here's the thing. When we stand together, it is impossible to conquer us.
The convention she's speaking at is the convention that brands all MAGA Republicans, all Trump supporters as insurrectionists and bad people. What do you mean divide and conquer?
John Lewis. He said, no matter what ship our ancestors arrived on, we are all in the same boat now. Congressman Lewis knew very well how far this country has come because he was one of the brilliant Americans who helped to get us where we are. But he also knew that the work is not done. The work will never be done because freedom isn't free. America is an ongoing project. It requires commitment. It requires being open to the hard work and the heart work of democracy. And every now and then, it requires standing up to life's
God bless
bullies.
you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're working really hard. We're trying. We're doing our best. But no, I'm enjoying the journey. I'm enjoying the journey. So thank you so much.
Tennessee, in Wisconsin, Maryland, Indiana, Florida, Hawaii, Colorado, California, and California. And sweet home Chicago, Illinois. I have actually traveled this country from the redwood forest, love those redwoods, to the Gulf Stream waters. I've seen racism and sexism and income inequality and division. I've not only seen it, at times I've been on the receiving end of it. But more often than not, what I've witnessed and experienced
Not sure what you mean by truther.
are human beings, both conservative
but I'll take
and
it as a
liberal,
compliment.
who may not agree with each other, but who'd still help you in a heartbeat if you were in trouble. These are the people who make me proud to say that I am an American. They are the best of America. And despite what some would have you think, we are not so different from our neighbors. When a house is on fire, we don't ask about the homeowner's race or religion. We don't wonder who their partner is or how they voted. No, we just try to do the best we can to save them. And if the place happens to belong to a childless cat lady,
Oh, okay.
well,
I'll address this in a second. Yes, and it's as I mentioned. Let me do this. As I mentioned in today's video, this is an attempt to appropriate the symbols of freedom and within the context of American patriotism to rise up people's sense of moral conviction and then use that for political leverage, right? This all goes back to how political symbols are used that mean different things to different people are then used to shape perceptions. That's all. That's what it's all about.
and I welcome those conversations because civilized debate is vital to democracy, and it is the best of America.
Does she know she's
over the
supporting the party that
last
supports
couple of
hate speech
nights,
laws?
We have all seen brave people walk onto the stage and share their most private pain. Amanda and Josh, Caitlin, Hadley, they told us their stories of rape and incest and near-death experiences from having the state deny them the abortion that their doctor explained was medically necessary. And they've told us these things for one reason, and that is to keep what happened to them from happening to anybody else. Because if you do not have autonomy over this,
I don't really get into conspiracy theories all that much. My main focus is helping people understand politics through the lens of philosophy.
World and how they are raised and supported.
Yeah. So if this is the sense, if this is what truther means, speaking the truth and returning of a self-analyzation, then okay, I'll take it. But I don't get into like 9/11 and the aliens and the stuff going into water. I'm not interested in all that stuff, in all honesty. There are folks that get into it and they do a good job. I'm not interested because number one, everyone's covering that stuff, and number two, there's not much philosophy I can add to all that stuff. So, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
I want to talk now about somebody who's not with us tonight. Tessie Prevost Williams was born in New Orleans not long after the Supreme Court ruled that segregated public schools were unconstitutional. That was in 1954, same year I was born. But I didn't have to head to first grade at the all-white McDonough 19 school with a U.S. Marshal by my side like Tessie did. And when I got to school, the building wasn't empty like it was for Tessie. You see, rather than allowing McDonough to be integrated, parents pulled their kids out of the school, leaving only Tessie and two other little Black girls, Gail Etienne and Leona Tate, to sit in a classroom with the windows papered over to block snipers from attacking their 6-year-old bodies. Tessie passed away 6 weeks ago. And I tell this story to honor her tonight because she
Okay, guys, the deep lore on the integration efforts of the 60s, they weren't done correctly. And in all honesty, they should have been organic. This is a controversial opinion, I understand. But integration did very little to help race relations in America. What helped race relations in America is when we were able to evolve beyond seeing race as a metric of value and to instead entrench ourselves in other sources of meaning. This is why folks are like the 90s were a good time. Well, from what I studied, I was not alive during that time, but from what I've studied, they were a good time in terms of race relations, largely, with the exception of the small incident with Rodney King, because there were other sources of value that people were pulling from. And you can't force people to pull from those sources of value by force. So forced integration just wasn't the best way to handle the racial issue. I'm just saying. Desegregation was fine on the public level, but beyond that, it just wasn't the best way to handle it.
And the glorious fighting spirit necessary to pursue that passion. And soon and very soon, we're going to be teaching our daughters and sons about how this child of an Indian mother
and a
don't
say Kamala.
Father,
no,
two idealistic, energetic immigrants. Immigrants. How this child grew up to become the 47th president of the United States. That is the best of America.
If Kamala is the height of female achievement in America, then that is just so insulting to every other woman that actually worked for what they eventually got in life, who worked for the lot in life. Kamala Harris has arguably lied and schemed her way to the top, and she's been abusive while doing it. How dare Oprah try to convince people that the opposite is true? When we have primary sources, we have all kinds of evidence that with the opposite of what Oprah is saying. It's just so unfortunate. The posterity, the female posterity of America deserve better than Kamala Harris to look up to.
Again and again and again, because I'm an American and that's what Americans do. Voting is the best of America. And I have always, since I was eligible to vote, I've always voted my values. And that is what is needed in this election now more than ever. So I'm calling on all you independents and all you undecideds. You know this is true. You know I'm telling you the truth, that values and character matter most of all.
No, they do.
In leadership and in life. And more than anything, you know this is true, that decency and respect are on the ballot in 2024.
No, decency and respect are social values.
And
that often form the basis for political values. But the moment you mix those two categories, like Oprah just did, is the moment you begin to conflate society with the government. And that's the moment you begin to justify improper intrusion into private life, which Kamala Harris is doing in so many ways with her platform or with her stated aims so far.
We are Americans. Let us choose loyalty to the Constitution over loyalty to any individual.
If you are loyal to the Constitution, you'll vote against terrorists. That's just very simple.
And let us choose optimism over cynicism, because that's the best of America. And let us choose inclusion over retribution. Let us choose
You can't cash a check with joy alone.
because that's the best of America. And let us choose the sweet promise of tomorrow over the bitter return to yesterday. We won't go back. We won't be set back, pushed back, bullied back, kicked back. We're not going back. Not going back. We're not going back. So, let us choose. Let us choose truth. Let us choose honor. And let us choose joy.
No.
Because that's the best of America. But more than anything else, let us choose freedom. Why? Because that's the best of America.
We're
all Americans, and together, let's all choose Kamala Harris.
Okay, be quiet. I'm sorry. I can't do it anymore. I can't listen to that much anymore. I'm sorry, guys. I can't subject you guys to that. Thankfully, she was over anyway. I mean, I did not get a single good reason in that speech. She talked about a lady who was mistreated during the times of integration. She talked about how many houses she's had. She talked about a lot of different things. She talked about yesterday and joy, but she didn't actually talk about what Kamala is going to do substantively to improve the lot of this country. So I got no reason, if I'm an independent voter, to vote for her on that alone. They're using proximity and status as a mode of convincing people that they should do something, which is a rabbit hole we'll go down another time.
I became.
Oh,
a
I
teacher
muted again.
myself.
Sorry,
It
guys.
was inspiring
So
being
sorry.
in his classroom.
Please welcome Maryland Governor
Yeah,
Wes Moore.
there's speculation about that. There is. Her and The Rock asked for money after the properties burnt down, when both of them are both very rich. People were kind of skeptical about that.
Thank you. Thank you. On March 26th, at 1:30 in the morning, a container ship, the length of 3 football fields, slammed into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, and the bridge collapsed. A port that drives 13% of our state's economy was now closed. Thousands of workers were hours away from waking up and realizing they no longer had a job. 6 Marylanders who had been on the bridge in the middle of the night fixing potholes lost their lives. And one of the first phone calls that I got that morning started with these 3 words. Gov, it's Kamala. She said, I know you spoke to the president, and I want you to know we are here with you every step of the way.
That's odd. That's very odd.
Now, I joined the Army.
That's odd.
When I was 17. In fact, I was too young to sign the paperwork. I had to ask my mom to sign the paperwork for me because...
Why is the vice president calling when the president already dealt with that situation and he's the person that actually has the power to affect something over that, since he is the executive of the Department of Transportation, which that instance falls under? That's odd.
In Afghanistan. And my training taught me that you never learn anything about anybody when times are easy. You learn everything you need to know about somebody when times are hard and when the temperature gets turned up. And America, I saw that Kamala Harris is the right one to lead in this moment firsthand. And united with the Almighty God's grace, we brought closure to the families of the 6 victims. And while many said it could take 11 months to reopen the port of Baltimore, we got it done in 11 weeks. Because that is the story of America. We are a nation of patriots who serve when the mission is hard and who serve when the destination is uncertain. And I know our history isn't perfect. The unevenness of the American journey has made some skeptical. But I'm not asking you to give up your skepticism. I just want that skepticism to be your companion and not your captor. And I'm asking that you join us in the work. Because making America great doesn't mean telling people you're not wanted. And loving your country does not mean lying about its history.
He had me for a second. I was like, okay. He had me for a second. But
making America great means saying the ambitions of this country would be incomplete without your help. It's the legacy of those 6 workers who fixed potholes on a bridge while we slept.
Mismanagement, crime, terrible criminal justice policies, corruption, a combination of things has led to the decline of that city. Baltimore used to be one of my favorite places to go when I was a kid. You go out on the pier near the aquarium, you go into the World War II era submarine, just beautiful stuff. Dining on the pier was top tier, or at least it felt top tier. And unfortunately today it is an absolute war zone. And I don't think this governor has done much to, I think there was a study that came out that Baltimore public school children are below proficient in reading and math across every school district in Baltimore. The governor is not addressing that tonight. I wonder why not. That the leadership of that state has mismanaged it to hell, sincerely.
It's the story of a prosecutor who defended our freedoms and had Maryland's back when we needed it most. And now, MVP, we've got your back as well.
Tragic.
It's my fellow veteran, my brother, and the next Vice President of the United States, Tim Walz. And now, Tim knows that in the military, you count the days towards mission completion. So guess what, y'all? We have got 75 days and a wake up until Election Day. 75 days and a wake up for us to prove what Americans can do when the pressure is on. 75 days and a wake up for us to show that true patriots do not whine and complain. We put our heads down and we get to work. 75 days and a wake up to build a future that those who came before us hope for, and those who come after us that they deserve. And 75 days and a wake up to elect a leader who is willing to believe in the best of us. And that leader is Kamala Harris, the next president of the United States. Thank you. God bless you. And let's leave no one behind.
Tragic. Quite tragic, my friends. Tragic. I'm using that word a lot tonight, but that seriously is tragic. He started his speech off with a pretty inspiring message that kind of cut across party lines. Then he began doing what his predecessors were doing. Oh, it's Buttigieg coming up. Let me stop. Let's listen to him. Now, this is someone you guys need to pay attention to, because he could potentially be a force to be reckoned with in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Democrats. Thank you, Chicago. Here's a sentence I never thought I'd hear myself saying. I'm Pete Buttigieg, and you might recognize me from Fox News. I believe in going anywhere, in service of a good cause, and friends, we gather in a very good cause, electing Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, the next president and vice president of the United States. The choice could not be clearer. Donald Trump rants about law and order, as if he wasn't a convicted criminal running against a prosecutor. As if we were going to forget that crime was higher on his watch. Talks about the forgotten man, hoping we'll forget that the only economic promise that he actually kept was to cut taxes for the rich.
That's not true. The Trump tax cuts exempted an entire core of low-income people from paying taxes at all, and it cut taxes across the board. That's not true. He's just lying there.
At least Mike Pence was polite. J.D. Vance is one of those guys who thinks if you don't live the life that he has in mind for you, then you don't count. Someone who said that if you don't have kids, you have, quote, no physical commitment to the future of this country. You know, Senator, when I deployed to Afghanistan, I didn't have kids then. Many of the men and women who went outside the wire with me didn't have kids either. But let me tell you, our commitment to the future of this country was pretty damn physical.
Look, I'm not crazy about JD Vance. I did an entire video about why I think JD Vance is, I think, a concern for any constitutionalist. But let's be fair here. I think Vance was talking about the crisis of fertility that has been happening across the West over the past few decades that is now finally coming to a head. And he was trying to make a point, one that I think I would have made much differently, one that I'm not necessarily entirely in step with, but one that is not as it's being characterized here by Mayor Pete. It's just not charitable to say this the way he's saying it.
America today is in the market for darkness. I believe America is ready for a better kind of politics. Yes, politics at its worst can be ugly, crushing, demeaning, but it doesn't have to be. At its best, politics can be empowering, uplifting.
It shouldn't be.
It can even be a kind of soul craft.
Politics as soul craft.
People and bad people, but rather that each of us is capable of good and bad things. And I believe leaders matter because of what they bring out in each of us, the good or the bad. Right now, the other side is
politics as soul craft. Meditate on that, guys. Politics as soul craft.
They're telling you that anyone different from you is a threat. They're telling you that your neighbor or nephew or daughter who disagrees with you politically isn't just wrong, but is now the enemy. I believe in a better politics, one that finds us at our most decent and open and brave. The kind of politics that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are offering. And as you have felt these many days, that kind of politics also just feels better to be part of.
That's all it's about. It's about
psychosomatic. There is joy in it.
That's all it's about.
As well as power.
Well, it's about.
And if to this view, not by way of idealism,
as soul craft,
but by way of experience. I'm thinking of something much more basic.
I'm so sorry. I keep muting. I'm
thinking of dinner time at our house in Michigan.
My mind is in overdrive right now. Politics is soul craft.
When the dog is barking and the air fryer is beeping and the mac and cheese is boiling over, and it feels like all the political negotiating experience in the world is not enough for me to get our 3-year-old son and our 3-year-old daughter to just wash their hands.
It's more than naive, Lucian, or politics is soul craft.
It's the part of our day when
more than
politics
naive.
seems the
It's
most
something
distant.
else. That's
And yet the makeup of our kitchen table, the existence of my family, is just one example of something that was literally impossible. As recently as 25 years ago, when an anxious teenager growing up in Indiana wondered if he would ever find belonging in this world. This kind of life went from impossible to possible, from possible to real, from real to almost ordinary in less than half a lifetime. But that didn't just happen. It was brought about through idealism and courage, through organizing and persuasion and storytelling, and yes, through politics, the right kind of politics. The kind of politics that can make an impossible dream into an everyday reality. I don't presume to know what it's like in your kitchen, but I know, as sure as I am standing here, that everything in it, the bills you pay at that table, the shape of the family that sits there, the fears and the dreams that you talk about, late into the night there. All of it compels us to demand more from our politics than a rerun of some TV wrestling death match.
No. Okay, this is where it is wrong. If politics is soulcraft, then that means politics is fundamentally the act of changing the soul, and which also means it's the act of refining the man, which also means it's the act of creating character within people, which then means that politics must have some authority over the personal lives and the families of our country. So he's trying to say that politics should bring out the best in us. What he's really trying to say is that the government should be the ones that create our character for us. Well, that's what he's saying.
Politics of darkness.
That's dangerous.
Once and for all. That is
And
what
it's
we
pretty
choose,
foul.
what
It's
we
pretty
embrace.
foul too.
The leaders who are out there building bridges
pretty
and
foul.
reject the ones who are out there banning books. This is what we will work for every day to November and beyond. So let's go win this. Thank you, Democrats. Thank you.
All right, guys, that's our next video, guys. I think, okay, so hold on. We're talking about joy soon. Tomorrow is about political symbols. But we're talking about joy, and we're going to talk about politics as soulcraft. Who wants to hear about that? Politics as soulcraft. As a way the progressives view the state's relationship with your society. Should I talk about that? That's a whole video right there, man. And if I want ideas for videos, just live stream, Jesus. Just live stream.
What the experience was of those that were actually using the GI Bill and how it could be improved. It seemed to be a continuation of focus on improving the lives of veterans.
Governor Rawls in our unit always would say his catchphrase was, "We'll get it done." And we always did.
The way I've seen him carry himself over the years in Congress and the way he works for veterans, there's no excuse making, there's no scapegoating. It's just accomplish the mission.
Governor Walz has been that way and always will be that way.
Having Governor Walz on the House Veteran Affairs Committee was instrumental in getting the post 9/11 GI Bill not only introduced, but also passed.
When Governor Walz wants change, it'll happen. Back to the Guard. We'll get it done.
Please welcome EGOT-winning multi-platinum artist and activist, John Legend, and Queen of Percussion, Sheila E.
Oh, I know both of these people. Sheila E. used to... Okay. Oh, they're playing Prince, guys. They're playing Prince. This is so sick. I love Prince. That's so sick. I can't play the music, guys. I'll give you a little bit of a taste of it, but I can't play all of it. Yeah, he's playing "Let's Go Crazy," which is one of my favorite Prince songs. It's so sick. That is so demented. Messing up Prince for me. How dare you? But yeah, so while they're playing Prince, I will just talk to you guys. If that's all right. We don't have to listen to the music because I just don't. I don't want to get copyrighted out. Yeah, no, I'm writing a lot of notes tonight. I'm sure you guys could tell or hear me typing and writing the notes. Politics is soulcraft. That is so aspirational in the worst way possible. When your aspirations are lower things and they're not higher things, that really is a sign that your political ideology is bankrupt in some way, shape, or form. Aspirations should go towards things that are beyond our immediate reach, but are worth it in some sort of human goal in achieving. Well, the soul is not beyond our reach. The soul, as a matter of course, is located within us. Now, whether you subscribe to a secular conception of the soul or a religious conception of the soul, in either conception, I'll differentiate. The secular soul is more so the appetites and values and beliefs and temperaments that make up human nature. So this would be like Aristotle, right? The vegetative soul, so on and so forth. He has like a tripartite soul model. And that's not religious at all. It describes things that are not immediately apparent that impact human action. where the religious conception of the soul goes beyond that. It says, yes, it's all those things, but it's first and foremost this this phenomenon that is contained within the body, but is bigger than the body, and ultimately transcends the body and goes to this different dimension. If you're a Christian, either goes to heaven or hell. If you're a Muslim, same kind of thing. If you're Jewish, then you either go to heaven or you're very distant from God if you've done bad things, or if you're Catholic, you go to purgatory or wherever. So when he says politics is soulcraft, he is, number one, lowering aspirations to what we can already achieve in our own power. Number two, depriving us of those aspirations by use of external power. And then number three, setting the expectations around the soul as a matter of a public interest, as opposed to a matter of personal growth. So what Buttigieg is really saying now when he says politics like soulcraft, he's saying that your soul is a matter of public interest. Do you guys understand what that means? It reminds me very succinctly of Woodrow Wilson's The New Freedom. And if you guys have watched my videos, you'll know I mentioned him just a few videos ago in that particular speech that he made in 1913. In The New Freedom, Wilson said that we are not bound by the laws of Darwin. Or, excuse me, we're not bound by the laws of Newton. We're bound by the laws of Darwin. And apparently the laws of Newton were built into the Constitution in terms of first principles and fixed checks and balances. And those things are all bad because they don't evolve with the society. And so social evolution is not a matter of looking at these things that are beyond us. It's a matter of looking within us. So this is a continuation of the same kind of idea. I see some folks are leaving that I'm talking about philosophy, but it's very important to have these considerations, my friends. It seriously is. But let's turn the DNC back on.
Take us there, and to take us there, please welcome to the stage Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar.
Okay. That was a warm-up act. On behalf of the great state of Minnesota, where purple reigns, I stand before you in support of our next Vice President, Tim Walz. In Minnesota, we trust a coach who turned a team that was 0-27 into state champions. In Minnesota, we trust a hunter who has stood in a deer stand in 10-degree weather. In Minnesota, we trust a candidate who has made a viral video on how to change a burnt out headlight. And I know we aren't alone, but in Minnesota, we love a dad in plaid.
None of these things qualify you to be vice president. Not a single of these things.
He taught high school right down the road from where my husband John grew up. My mother-in-law even brought him and Gwen a Parmesan chicken dinner when their son was born. That's what we do in America. We look out for our neighbors. Tim has been doing that his whole life, on the farm and in the factory, with his students and his fellow service members. And the truth is, that matters. Who better to take on the price of gas than a guy who could pull over to help change your tire? Who better to serve our nation than a guy who has served in uniform? Who better to find common ground than a guy with Midwestern common sense? a former football coach knows how to level the playing field. And a former
None of these things qualify him for the vice presidency.
To school the likes of J.D. Vance.
Why do you want a vice president that's going to school the American people who think differently than him? That doesn't sound like a vice president of the United States to me. That sounds like a manager. We don't need managers in this country.
School lunches and the biggest tax cut in Minnesota history.
Oh, she's a liar. No, Tim Walz raised taxes in Minnesota and then bragged about Minnesota being a high tax state, and consecutively for years upon years upon years upon years under his governorship, Minnesota was rated one of the highest tax states in the nation. Businesses flooded. This lady is bold-faced lying. Man, okay, you know what? I'm about to turn her off, guys. I'm sorry. I'm about to turn her off. But we gotta get through this. Gotta get through this. But I'm about to turn this woman off because she's really, really upsetting me. She's making me want to cuss, guys, and I don't cuss. I don't cuss. I'm a nice guy.
To Wisconsin and to Iowa. It goes down to Illinois and to Missouri. It goes to Kentucky and Tennessee. It goes to Arkansas, and it goes way down to Mississippi. And then it goes all the way down to New Orleans, Louisiana, where the spirit of our nation's resilience abounds.
For those of you curious about Walz's tax policy, I just put something in the chat. This is from the Tax Foundation. It literally just exposes everything she said about tax policy as a lie.
And Tim Walz.
Please welcome Ben Ingman from Minnesota.
Does it end? Guys, is it going to end eventually? Does this end?
Tim Walz is the kind of guy you can count on to push you out of a snowbank. I know this because Tim Walz has pushed me out of a snowbank. I grew up next door to the Walzes in Mankato. Mr. Walz was also my geography teacher and my coach. Not for high school.
Okay, let's do a poll here, guys. Place 1 in the chat if you want me to mute these people until Tim Walz comes on and then go back to it. We can look at some election polls, or place 2 in the chat if you want to just listen to these people until Tim Walz comes on and listen to him as well.
Up a lot of debt. And Tim and Gwen decided they'd help pay it off. They started calling around the district to see if there were any positions they could fill to make a little extra money. And that's how he wound up coaching us 7th graders. That's right. Coach Walz got us excited about what we might achieve together.
All right. Let's do it.
Football team.
1 second, if I can.
That's right. Speaking of which,
I wish we could, Marker. I wish we could, but unfortunately this is live, so we can't. Oh, what is this? What is this? What is this? This is so silly. This is so silly. This is so silly, guys. I'm so sorry you're having to see this. Really? I promised we'd look at polls, didn't I?
You know, all this got me thinking about the kinds of leaders we need. We want the people in charge to be genuine, compassionate, and trustworthy. The thing is, there are people in our neighborhoods who fit this description. The kind of people who display quiet leadership by helping kids pay for their lunches, by bringing teams together to believe in each other. And when we're stuck in the snow,
Yeah, sorry guys, we're gonna look at something else now. Hold on. Look at the polls for this election. We'll cut. I promise. We'll cut back into Tim Walz once once he comes on the stage. So I can't even speak. You can tell that's my brain being fried from how long we've been on. We've been on live for 3 hours. But yeah, when he comes back in, we'll cut in. So let's look at this for now. So we have poll today: Harris up 3, general election. Harris up 4, Monday. Interesting. So what I really think is more interesting, though, because all these numbers tell a certain story. It says in general, they're either polling people who are overwhelmingly for Harris, or for some reason, there's a general popularity boost amongst her. But when you look at the actual swing states, we can find them here. The story seems much more. Where are the swing states at? Yeah, the story seems much more interesting. Here we go. Wisconsin, 1 point. That's very interesting. Nevada, Trump up 2 points. Very interesting. When you look at the swing states, tie in Nevada. I think I saw a poll list that was a tie in Pennsylvania too, or there was Pennsylvania, 1 point. So when you look at the actual polls in the swing states, the story is more complicated than what they're depicting in the media. Isn't that very interesting? Arizona, Trump up 1 point. So, and really, I mean, if Trump gets North Carolina, which seems likely, and he gets Pennsylvania, he basically locked up the election, from what a lot of people are saying, from what the current map says. It wouldn't hurt to get Georgia either, but he just needs to get one of those sort of blue wall states in North Carolina, and he can win with the current map. So I find all this quite interesting. But they're going to use, let's go back to the other side here. They're going to use all of this as a justification for presidency. They're going to use all of this to try to say that Harris is the clear favorite to win. Don't let all of this scare you guys. Don't let all this scare you guys. I'm not scared. I'm not concerned. I'm not concerned whatsoever. It's very interesting, though. What I'm really waiting to see is if there is what they call a post-convention bump. I'm not so certain there's going to be this post-convention bump, but maybe we're seeing it right now because the convention only has 1 day left. The latest polls from today. So I don't know, guys. What are your thoughts? Tell me your thoughts. Because I don't look at polls very often for a few reasons. But since it is the DNC, and since I'm trying to be something of an election commentator tonight, I am doing it for the good of the order. So, but yeah, Tim Walz is about to come on right now. So let me actually go back to him. About to come on right now. So, and then once he comes on,
farm, a fishing boat, a football field, or a factory floor, as he is on the floor
once he's
of
finished,
Congress.
we'll be able to bring the show in.
All comes back to the values we grew up with.
Thank you guys so much for being here, by the way.
Help your
Thank you guys so
neighbor
much for being here and
for what's right.
partaking
because
in our
that's
experience.
what America is all about.
2 middle-class kids. One, a daughter of Oakland, California. The other, a son of the Nebraska Plains, only in America. Is it possible for them together to make it all the way to the White House?
Please welcome the Democratic nominee for Vice President, Governor Tim Walz.
Okay, I muted that because I can't play music, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, this is one of the takeaways people should take away. People should take this is one of the many takeaways. One of the many takeaways. But beyond that, politics as soulcraft says that one's personal development is a communal matter as opposed to a personal matter. And that goes to something much deeper. That's very okay. Let's listen to this. Let's listen to this.
Thank you. Wow. Well, thank you. Thank you, first of all, to Vice President Harris. Thanks for putting your trust in me and for inviting me to be part of this incredible campaign. And a thank you to President Joe Biden for 4 years of strong, historic leadership. It's the honor of my life to accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States. We're all here tonight for one beautiful, simple reason. We love this country. So thank you to all of you here in Chicago and all of you watching at home tonight. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your determination. And most of all, thank you for bringing the joy to this fight. Now, I grew up in Butte, Nebraska, a town of 400 people. I had 24 kids in my high school class, and none of them went to Yale. But I'll tell you what, growing up in a small town like that, you learn how to take care of each other. That family down the road, they may not think like you do. They may not pray like you do. They may not love like you do, but they're your neighbors. And you look out for them, and they look out for you. Everybody belongs, and everybody has a responsibility to contribute.
No, I do not. I have a moral responsibility to those who I am connected to, either through my immediate surroundings, either through my forged relationships. I do not have a responsibility to contribute to an abstract notion of community that is divorced from my personal experience just because I am a human. No, I do not. I am tired of people like Peter Singer, the philosopher who always gets mad about animals, saying that. I'm tired of Tim Walz saying that. I'm tired of Bernie Sanders saying that. I'm tired of socialists saying that. I'm tired of it for so many reasons. I'm going to try not to mute him so much, but I'm not going to accept that. I'm sorry.
And me to go to college, and millions of other Americans. Eventually, like the rest of my family, I fell in love with teaching. Three out of 4 of us married teachers. I wound up teaching social studies and coaching football at Mankato West High School. Go Scarlets. We ran a 44 defense. We played through to the whistle on every single play, and we even won a state championship. Never closed the yearbook, people. But it was those players and my students who inspired me to run for Congress. They saw in me what I had hoped to instill in them, a commitment to the common good, an understanding that
Okay,
we're
there we
all
go.
in this
Commitment to
together.
the common good. You guys know what that means?
And the belief that a single...
The common good is one of the most dangerous and amorphous political concepts in the whole of political philosophy. It goes all the way back to the days of Aristotle. And that word is so tortured in its meaning that it can literally take the character of whatever the people within a particular society wish for it to mean. You cannot have a stable society based on the common good. You can only have a society built on power relationships based on the common good. You can only have a society of tyranny based on the common good. You can't have a just society based on the common good.
My neighbors in Congress for 12 years. And
also, the common good also demeans the idea of the good, because within, we'll talk about that later.
And taking care of veterans. And I learned how to compromise without compromising my values. Then I came back to serve as governor, and we got right to work, making a difference in our neighbors' lives. We cut taxes for the middle class. We passed paid family and medical leave. We invested in fighting crime and affordable housing. We cut the cost of prescription drugs and helped people escape the kind of medical debt that nearly sank my family. And we made sure that every kid in our state gets breakfast and lunch every day. So while other states were banning books from their schools, we were banishing hunger from ours. We also protected reproductive freedom because in Minnesota, we respect our neighbors and the personal choices they make. And even if we wouldn't make those same choices for ourselves, we've got a golden rule. Mind your own damn business.
A word to the wise, reproductive freedom is a false category. Reproductive freedom is not something that actually exists. It is a euphemism for butchering the unborn, and it should just be called that. We should cut off the pretenses and call it what it is.
I guarantee you, you know somebody who has. And I can remember praying each night for a phone call. The pit in your stomach when the phone had rang, and the absolute agony when we heard the treatments hadn't worked. It took Gwen and I years.
Also, on book banning, so I remember years ago I was talking on a panel. The panel I was talking about was a bunch of scholars gathered to talk about radical Islam. I was actually the least controversial person there, the least esteemed person there. But I was asked about this question, and I guess that's his son. I was asked about this question, and people said, how can you say that you support free speech when you also support restricting the content within schools? And I said very simply, it's a matter of understanding moral context. If we accept as a principle that the government involved in education at the first place is a dereliction of its actual duties and a corruption, well, then we should also strive to reduce that. But while the government is involved in education to some extent, it has a duty to ensure that some of the general principles the government is there to take care of, like, for example, protecting children and protecting childhood innocence, are undertaken. So within that educational context, you can't get any more unjust than already having an illegitimate intrusion into an institution. But if you have that intrusion, while you're working to get rid of it, it also helps to do some good with it. That's how you justify it. And so it's not book banning, it's restricting content to it can be age appropriate for very obvious reasons. And we really need to start understanding and asserting that. And it's all right to do that within certain contexts.
Dad, I believe in the Second Amendment, but I also believe our first responsibility is to keep our kids safe.
You don't keep a morally assertive citizenry must be an armed citizenry by definition. You don't keep your citizens or your children safe by taking away their most effective means of defending life, limb, and property.
they want. But not everyone has that same sense of responsibility. Some folks just don't understand what it takes to be a good neighbor. Take Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Their Project 2025 will make things much, much harder for people who are just trying to live their lives. They spent a lot of time pretending they know nothing about this. But look, I coached high school football long enough to know, and trust me on this, when somebody takes the time to draw up a playbook, they're going to use it.
Trump and Vance didn't write that. So Project 2025, for anyone watching, was a policy program of the Heritage Foundation that they have had for years. Years and years and years and years and years. And this is not odd. Most think tanks have massive policy programs, whether the Brookings Institute, whether it's the Cato Institute, whether it's the Heritage Foundation, whether it's regardless of what the institution is, they do this. This is what think tanks do for their donors and also just for their own prestige. And so every think tank in existence has one of these big plans, and not everything in those plans is going to be agreed upon by a particular politician, especially not Trump, who, judging by how Trump operates, most likely did not read the entire thing or read it at all. And he claims he has no knowledge of it, which I pretty much believe, by the way.
And it's dangerous. It's not just me saying so. It's Trump's own people. They were with him for 4 years. They're warning us that the next 4 years will be much, much worse. You know, when I was teaching every year, we'd elect a student body president. And you know what? Those teenagers could teach Donald Trump a hell of a lot about what a leader is. Leaders don't spend all day insulting people and blaming others. Leaders do the work. So I don't know about you. I'm ready to turn the page on these guys. So go ahead. Say it with me. We're not going back. We've got something better to offer the American people. It starts with our candidate, Kamala Harris. From her first day as a prosecutor, as a district attorney, as an attorney general, as a United States senator, and then our vice president, she's fought on the side of the American people. She's taken on the predators and fraudsters. She's taken down the transnational gangs, and she stood up to powerful corporate interests. She has never hesitated to reach across that aisle if it meant improving your lives. And she's always done it with energy, with passion, and with joy. Folks, we've got a chance to make Kamala Harris the next president of the United States. But I think we owe it to the American people to tell them exactly what she'd do as president before we ask them for their votes. So here, this is the part, clip and save it, and
Yeah, I
send
just
it to
turned
your
them off.
undecided relatives so they know. If you're a middle-class family or a family trying to get into the middle class, Kamala Harris is going to cut your taxes. If you're getting squeezed by prescription drug prices, Kamala Harris is going to take on Big Pharma.
Kamala Harris promised to raise the corporate tax rate to 28%, by the way. She's going to pass those costs down upon the middle class and other people who are hit the hardest by rising prices.
Stand up and fight for your freedom to live the life that you want to lead. Because that's what we want for ourselves, and it's what we want for our neighbors. You know, you might not know it, but I haven't given a lot of big speeches like this. But I have given a lot of pep talks. So let me finish with this, team. It's the fourth quarter. We're down a field goal, but we're on offense and we've got the ball. We're driving down the field. And boy, do we have the right team. Kamala Harris is tough. Kamala Harris is experienced. and Kamala Harris is ready. Our job for everyone watching is to get in the trenches and do the blocking and tackling. 1 inch at a time, 1 yard at a time, 1 phone call at a time, 1 door knock at a time, 1 $5 donation at a time. Look, we got 76 days. That's nothing. There'll be time to sleep when you're dead. We're going to leave it on the field.
Jesus. This is what a totalizing ideology looks like. Complete and utter totalizing ideology. Sacrifice your life for the greater good.
Build a country where workers come first. Healthcare and housing are human rights.
No, they're not. No. No. Both of those things are privileges that cannot be guaranteed by force.
That's how we make America a place where no child is left hungry, where no community is left behind, where nobody gets told they don't belong. That's how we're gonna fight. And as the next president of the United States always says, when we fight, when we fight, when we fight, thank you. God bless.
All right. All right. I think he's done. I think the DNC is done. We'll watch this play out a little bit. So not inspiring whatsoever. Ideologically deficient in so many different ways. Very weak critiques of Trump and Vance. Very distorted, a very, very distorted offering of his own record. So many problems, so many errors, so many things. But the truth is, my friends, that doesn't matter. The people who are energetic, what matters tonight is that there are so many people within that room who are beyond energized because of this speech, because of Kamala, because of Oprah. And now you went from a depressed, demotivated political demographic, which is the progressives, to an energetic, vibe-filling, brat-touting demographic, to use their own verbiage for a moment, that is now going to aggressively pursue this election. The takeaway tonight that I have is that we need to watch out for that and don't underestimate these people. Last night, I felt that very urgently. I still feel that, although I feel it in a little bit of a lesser urgent sense, more so just since we need to be on guard for this kind of stuff. But ultimately, look, I want to see what the general message is going to be once this is all over. Because if it still is freedom, then the right has an opportunity to attack the progressives on that issue. Again, if you guys have not watched my video yet, I must encourage you, please watch my video on this topic. It is going to give you the tools to defeat the leftist conception of freedom. I did 2 videos on this topic, actually. I will put them all in the comment section down below. The first video, I'm pulling it up right now. The first video is about the history of the progressive ideal of freedom and why that is wrong in general. The second video is about the use of the word freedom in this specific context. I'm putting both of those in the chat right now. It is important for all of you to look at that because this is the battle we have to fight on, the conceptual battle. This is the first video I want you guys to look at if you haven't looked at it already. And then here's the second video, which is, it's doing good pretty far, doing so good pretty far. And we have to keep this stuff in mind, my friends, because they have no substantive argument in the use of the word freedom. They have none whatsoever. They have none whatsoever. It's all vibes. But there is a long-standing tradition based in natural law, based in the Enlightenment, which tells us exactly what freedom means. And then the Jeffersonian tradition, which manifested after that other tradition was born, and really impact early America, took that idea and then used it to inform discourse in early America and throughout. And so we know what freedom actually is. We know what it means to fight for freedom. We understand what that means. And it means nothing about what they're saying. Again, I'm not going to go into all the big theory. I did that a few hours ago, 4 hours ago to be precise. But I encourage you guys to look at the video. But all in all, I think that this is just further evidence. We need to be on alert. Don't underestimate these people, but also understand they have nothing to offer. They have nothing to offer. They have nothing to offer. But they have vibes, all but vibes and all but appearance. They have that to offer, but nothing substantive. As long as we know that, I think we're going to be okay. But if we keep just mocking them and personally insulting them and not taking them seriously and picking up the mantle of righteousness to deal with this, then I don't think that we're actually going to be able to handle this very effectively. All right, guys, we're about to get out of here. But before we do, let me take some comments. Yeah, thank you so much, Marco. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm going to be doing a video on Joy coming up here very soon. Very, very soon. My editor who's watching right now, I might talk with them when we should do the video, because we got so much to talk about, guys. We have to talk about tomorrow. It's about political symbols. On Friday, it's going to be. Oh, also, by the way, guys, tomorrow, 7:40 Eastern, 7:40 sharp. We're going to be right back here. We're going to be right back here tomorrow at 7:40 sharp, covering the DNC. I don't know why I'm doing it again, but I had a good experience here. So tomorrow at 7:40 sharp, we're right back here, taking your questions and everything, covering the DNC, getting through it together. But then on Friday as well, we got a video about Lord of the Rings coming out. So I got to do that. So we got a lot of content coming out. Yeah, no. There's one more night tomorrow. So we're going to be back for it. Last night, Kamala's going to be speaking. So it'll be a big deal. So, yeah, guys, I mean, is there anything else you guys want to say to me before I go? I appreciate you guys for being here. If you haven't already, be sure to like this video. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. Be sure, if you want to give me a donation, that's okay too. You don't have to. But just thank you guys so much for being here. Thanks so much for walking along this path with me. I foresee good things for us. I foresee exciting things for this channel. And I just couldn't be more grateful to have all of you along on the ride with me. So thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. And as I always say, study history, study philosophy, remain morally convicted, and please stay pensive, my friends. I'll see you guys. Bye. Good night, my friends.